Blog Talk Radio.
Let the words of thy mouth and the meditation of thy heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Most High Selassie, Jah Rastafari. The heavens declare the glory of the Most High, and the firmament showeth his handiwork. Day unto day uttereth speech, and night unto night showeth knowledge. There is no speech nor language where thy voice is not heard. Their line is gone out through all the earth, and their words to the end of the world. Rastafari is the lily of the valley. Rastafari is the bright and morning star. In them there's a tabernacle set for the sun, which has a bridegroom coming out of his chamber, and rejoiceth as a strong man to run a race. His going forth is from the end of the heaven, and his circuit upon the ends of it, and there is nothing hid from the heat thereof. Lightning. Everyone should know. Everyone should know. Everyone should know. Oh, Rastafari. The law of the Most High is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Most High is true, making wise the simple. The statutes of the Most High are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Most High is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of the Most High is clear, enduring forever. The judgments of the Most High are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, more than much fine gold. Sweeter also than the honey and the honeycomb. Moreover, by them is thy servant warned, and in keeping of them there is great reward. Who can understand his errors? Cleanse thou me from secret faults. Keep back thy servant also from presumptuous sins. Let them not have dominion over I. Then shall I be upright, and I shall be innocent from the great transgressions. Selah, Selassie. Everyone should know. Everyone should know. Rock it. Oh, Rastafari. Let the words of thy mouth and the meditation of thy heart be acceptable in thy sight, O Most High, thy strength and thy redeemer. Selah, Selassie. Aya Imge. Paradise, bright and morning star. Glory to word, glory to sound, glory to the power of the Most High, His Imperial Majesty, Emperor Selassie, Empress Menenai. I. Oh,
and that they should never make a mistake in assuming or pretending that the human being is emanated from a deity.
But, despite this clear declaration, millions of Ethiopians still believe that he is the reincarnation of Jesus Christ. Others at least proclaim him the defender of their faith and the symbol of their power. They always sing to him songs of praise.
The son of Ras Makonnen, Haile Selassie, is astute. Ethiopia is very happy. Be her confessor. O Haile Selassie, sanctity becomes you.
Could we come down now, Your Imperial Majesties, of things more worldly, and we'll talk about, first of all, your little dog. How long has the dog been with you? 5 years. Do you ever have any trouble taking him from country to country?
No, any trouble. He is very intelligent dog.
He's your eternal companion. Yes. Do you have any other pets?
I have in my palace many lions, dogs, other animals also. Generally, I like very much the animals.
The Lion of Judah keeps 26 lions. The emperor's lions are like enormous pet dogs, the way they lie around the palaces of Ethiopia. 2 of his lions roam free in the imperial grounds. One is reputed to travel in its own jeep.
I believe coffee is the principal export of Ethiopia.
Yes, we have coffee. We can't say the name of coffee also comes from Ethiopia.
It's the Longberry Mocha, I believe it's.
We have the quality of mocha and other quality of.
The Ethiopian economy is primarily agricultural and pastoral. Coffee is the most important cash crop, which provides an annual export value of about 300 million Ethiopian dollars. In fact, Ethiopia is the home of coffee. The tree was found in the Ethiopian province of Kaffa, from which it took its name. Coffee now grows mainly in the Walaga, Kaffa, and Sidamo districts in the southwest, and Harar in the east. The next most important exports are hides and skins.
Is there an attempt made in your country to expand other types of industry?
Industry is developed in our country, but we do not find the rate of growth fully satisfactory. And I'm confident that we'll quicken the pace of industrial development.
In 1964, Ethiopia acquired the new status symbol of developing nations, television.
Is television a factor in your country?
Yes, in our capital in Addis Ababa, we have television. It's quite educational.
You don't import American or Canadian programs. It's mostly an educational network, is it?
He's information minister. He can tell you in the time. And there would be the programs from the United States, from England, also for Canadian pictures that are supplied to us by the embassy, and we also conduct live programs. Now our live program is 50%.
I would like to now pass the microphone to Mr. Thompson. I'm sure there are many things about the country that are still missing from our interviews, so if I could pass this to you, Mr. Thompson, and let you take up any of the gaps that I've missed.
I wonder, Your Imperial Majesty, if you could tell us what you consider to be the most important assistance that we could give to you as you become an ever-increasing important nation in the world.
I would like to discuss this topic after I see the Prime Minister of Canada, and then I'll be free to discuss this matter. I have prepared a list of the kind of assistance that is required from the Canadian government, and I will have the opportunity of submitting it to the Prime Minister of Canada.
Another aspect of Ethiopia we have not talked about is the fact that in Addis Ababa is located the United Nations of Africa, the Organization of African Unity, the beautiful Africa Hall. Likewise, there is located in Addis Ababa the United Nations Technical Assistance Program for Africa. The role of Ethiopia in bringing Africa into her own has been led by Your Imperial Majesty. Would you care to comment on the importance of the OAU in Africa, Your Imperial Majesty?
Africa, ፊትም ቢሆን አፍሪካውያኖች የምንተሳሰብነን
The people of Africa had closer sentiments to each other, even before they were free. I remember when our country fell a victim to fascist aggressors, we got the sympathy of Africans everywhere. But at that time, since the African people were not free, they were not in a position to manifest in concrete fashion their sympathy and their detest for fascist aggression. However, now that the African people are free, they wanted to get together for the purpose of widening the sphere of cooperation among them. And in this respect, Ethiopia is proud in being the site at which the Organization of African Unity has been established and where the headquarters of the organization has been housed. Africans are brothers. We have the same goals. We cherish the same ideas. Our problems are problems of development, problems of increasing cooperation, and as such, we shall forever march together to fulfill our aspirations as Africans. I also believe that when African people get closer and expand the sphere of their mutual cooperation, then Africa as a continent will be in a position to have a significant voice in the international affairs which affect the question of peace and war.
Your Imperial Majesty, last year Canada finally opened an embassy in Addis Ababa. Will Ethiopia be opening an embassy in Ottawa in the near future?
Canada and Ethiopia had concluded an agreement about the establishment of diplomatic relations. I am glad to see that Canada has fulfilled her part of the promise and established an embassy in Addis Ababa. We are also in the process of doing that. And when I arrive in Ottawa, I'll be in a position to explain to the Prime Minister of Canada about our determination to establish an embassy in Canada as soon as circumstances permit.
Your Imperial Majesty, on behalf of fellow Canadians, we are delighted that you are in our country. In the past several days, you've had an opportunity to travel almost from one coast to the other. You're just coming to the end of that trip now. Do you have an impression of Canada?
I was happy and highly impressed by what I saw in Canada. I saw the genuine sentiment of the people, the affection that they have entertained for our people. It was a happy occasion for me to see that, and I'm really delighted.
Psalm 144. Blessed be the Lord my strength, which teacheth my hands to war and my fingers to fight. My goodness and my fortress, my high tower and my deliverer, my shield and he in whom I trust, who subdueth my people under me. Lord, what is man that thou takest knowledge of him, or the son of man that thou makest account of him? Man is like to vanity. His days are as a shadow that passeth away. Bow thy heavens, O Lord, and come down. Touch the mountains, and they shall smoke. Cast forth lightning, and scatter them. Shoot out thine arrows, and destroy them. Send thine hand from above. Rid me and deliver me out of great waters, from the hand of strange children, whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood. I will sing a new song unto thee, O God. Upon a psaltery and an instrument of 10 strings will I sing praises unto thee. It is he that giveth salvation unto kings, who delivereth David his servant from the hurtful sword. Rid me and deliver me from the hand of strange children, whose mouth speaketh vanity, and their right hand is a right hand of falsehood, that our sons may be as plants grown up in their youth, that our daughters may be as cornerstones, polished after the similitude of a palace, that our garners may be full, affording all manner of store, that our sheep may bring forth thousands and 10,000s in our streets, that our oxen may be strong to labor, that there be no breaking in nor going out, that there be no complaining in our streets. Happy is that people that is in such a case. Yea, happy is that people whose God is the Lord.
Shalom, Rastafari. Give thanks. Greetings to the item. Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Salam. Greetings to the items. Sizuandim Lid Zawadi Tafari. And we are gathered here for RSS number 27 and 28. It's a double portion of the strong. And before we begin the show, I know it's been, influencers listening, I normally have a preset, to set the mood, as it were. I had a little bit of an audio setup that was perhaps a little bit too long, which is why it started to play, but the audio wasn't coming out. And the reason being is because I was in meditation about bringing something out that I was under, meditation to the whole Shabbat, and contemplating whether or not I should even bring it out in that sense. This is not normally the time. I know we have a particular show, Testify Tuesdays, when we have our testimonies and we share. But and this is our RSS partial overview show where we go through the Torah portions, and we will, as we normally do when we come together. We greet the brothers and sisters. We listen to the audio reading of the word, and we disseminate based on the notes and the revelations that's been revealed to us through that living word, through that, that Torah portion reading that we have. But, and I'm still kind of contemplating, even doing this. Again, let's just push forward then. I want to make a few statements. I want to say a few things, and in the presence of our brothers and sisters, hopefully the message comes out properly, and one's are receptive as I seek to push forward here. I have a few statements to make, and a few things to push forward on before we begin here. A little bit of breaking news. I would say not really breaking news in a sense, but headlines for I, as I would say, and these things might or might not be correct. These are just I's own opinions, but let's see if we can push forward. I say, Abba Father said, let's go, so let's go. So let's pause for the cause, come forward with some news. Brothers and sisters, shalom. Yes, I. Shabbat Shalom, Semet Salam again. This is Yoendim Lidzawali Tafadi. And before we begin here, the views and opinions expressed in this forward word, sound, and power are not those of the Line of Judah Society or its affiliates and I, all of I co-laborers here at Discipleship Radio. These are the opinions of I, Lidzawali Tafadi, and just seeking to bring a few things forward, just based on inspiration, based on things I have seen and noticed, and it's been a blessed Shabbat. And so let's go forth and see if we can bring this forth. And, brothers and sisters, bear with I. Don't want to make it seem like it's, bigger than what it is. It might seem, but I just wanted to have. Anyway, let's go for that. Before in the, where do we begin on this? Before in the previous, we had an upper room reasoning on Thursday. Give thanks to the ones who made that gathering, as well as we gathered as well for Testify Tuesdays. And a lot of discussion was going on. Of course, we normally have discussions based on the Torah portion, and a lot of spillover conversations were had and topical themes that kind of went in tune with what's been going on. And the revelations in these aspects, these areas have been many. And so in the previous reasons, I had mentioned briefly just this whole trans going on, this transhumanism, transgenderism, reptilian agenda that's going on. And I know we got to touch on it briefly, but, when it comes together, there are so many themes that come along, and then, they just start spilling out and overflowing. And then, so we just divulge a lot of information about each point are all worthy of elaborations. But it's just the time. We never really have the time. But anyway, let me see if I can bring this forth again as we begin this gathering here, RSS number 27 and 28. And I kind of take a few minutes in the beginning here just to get a few thoughts out. And let me just say before we have I and I fellow co-laborers and disciples are on the line with us, as well as the Rebbe Rasi Tafadi of the Line of Judah Society of His Imperial Majesty. So again, let me just push forward and say a few things just based on inspiration and listen to the Rastafari, listen to the Rastaman, rant a little bit, right? So this transhumanism, transgenderism, situation is going on, and ones, you see, the enemy Hashatan Yitareg Mehun, he hates humanity. He hates humanity. He hates humanity, and he wants to do everything that he can to pull humanity away from their true self, from the true God within, which is HaMoshiach, Jesus Christos. He wants to pull us away from that, so that, how do I begin to phrase this out, right? We know the original man was made, and the original woman was made, and through that we have offspring, and that's how creation, not creation in itself, but, that's how man, survived and multiplied and replenished. And so the aim of the enemy is to kind of reverse that, in a sense, because he doesn't respect Adam, and Adam was exalted above him and all the angels, and he didn't see, the first man, Adam, as being anything. So, and this is why, but again, he's against humanity. He hates humanity. And so the exact opposite of what Ha Elohim has put forth, the formula of a man and a woman coming together and making offspring, right? So he wants to do the exact opposite of that. So he wants to put the man with the man, the woman with the woman, thus canceling out the reproductory part of it, and perverting really the true order of things. Brothers and sisters, it's going to be a long point, so hopefully, again, I thoughts aren't jumbled too much together, and hopefully I could bring the thoughts out properly. I has been on, just been on meditation based on a few things that I've seen, and I'm going to go through here and give references for ones could check certain, things I'm going to say out. So, again, these things are just I opinion, and, just things based on what I've seen and the things that I've been, these last 24 hours, 48 hours, actually, I've just been in, and so digging deeper into these matters. But let's say I'm going to say a few things tonight, and again, I just want to be clear, and hopefully I'm able to bring out, the proper word sound for this gathering. And so there has been an agenda to, well, first of all, if we get to the real depth of how deep the deception goes, if we can really get to the deception goes deep, my brothers and sisters. It's so deep, the deception that goes on. And many, we have the half of the story that hasn't been told. The true, we have the full story because we had the other half from before, and now we have the other half. And what we had the original, we have the original half. So now we have the full story, right? So we understand and we can see it all. And seeing the way, as mentioned before, we had some previous discussion with some of our brothers and sisters, and the ones who gathered here, the ones who were on the line, concerning about what's going on in the world, and just noticing things. And again, we know that these things are to come to pass, as it were. But again, the enemy is going, he's being more advanced because the time is short, so he's getting a lot more desperate. So he's going a lot more advanced than before. So it doesn't hurt to peek your ear out and see what when you go into the world, when you peek your ear out into the world, it doesn't hurt to see what the enemy has been conjuring up, and certain things that I have been noticing, and I hear it, and never really, but I just knew, but I didn't really go into it too much. But this whole agenda, this transgenderism, transhumanism, reptilian agenda, right? Let me see if I could, let's touch on the transhumanism part of it, transhumanism. They're trying to, as technology advances, and how far we've gone in such little time, and which are good things and bad things, we were able to do and give thanks that our Father's been made it possible for us to utilize in the way that we've been utilizing, and make certain connections and push forward on a few things, and help our knowledge increase. But the technology has been pushing further and further on, and to more and more integration into a digital, kind of lifestyle in that sense. This device technology, merging with technology, joining or pairing with the Matrix. Remember in the movie, it said that the main aim of the Matrix is to use this as fuel, because, transhumanism, as we know, with the technology that we have, and it's getting more and more advanced, and now we're wearing things that we don't really wear. We touch our phones a lot more often than we used to. We interact more with these devices more than anything else, and with the advanced technologies that I have going on in the robotics field, the ones again, it's not to really be concerned with these things, but again, it's good to keep your ear out to see what, in terms of the things that are out there, the medical advances, and there is much that, there's much that's going on, and there's also much that they haven't shown us yet. But one should be familiar with the robotics and the way that it can merge skin tissue fiber with machines, mechanisms, wires to produce, movement, etc. And so if you think about it, the enemy is trying to, again, he hates humanity, and he wants to emulate Ha Elohim. So, he tries to do the impossible, and he tries to make life out of things that don't have life, in a sense. And now we're trying to merge that. Little by little, we're merging with the Matrix. We're merging with this, and that's this whole transhumanism thing. We're getting into more of a more digital thing. Our televisions and all our smart technology are smarter than we think, because there are many ways you can utilize this technology to just tap in, and they can find everything out about us, and we can go and everything that we use, anything that has a digital signature, can be used in that sense, right? And brothers and sisters, put on your tinfoil hats here. I'm gonna go. This might sound a little off, but hopefully my brothers and sisters can listen to I the right irit and get I main points here, and hopefully, again, it's not to really change anybody's mind or put any preconceived notions on one's, but just I just want to. I just been on meditation for this while. I want to share with I brothers and sisters. So just bear with I, and I don't need any refutation or whatever. I'm just gonna say something here, and again, the points that I'm making, hopefully, we'll be able to come forth in the proper way. So the transhumanism thing, right? So then we get into let's get into the other part of it, this transgenderism. transgenderism, right? And let me just say this, a few years ago, there was, I saw a documentary on, there's a place in Colorado, Trinidad, Colorado. And I remember the name, obviously, because that's where I is from. And in Trinidad, Colorado, there's a population of people that are all transgendered. So you have, young folks, old folks, retired folks. Everybody just lives in this place, this town, this area, and it's where if you want to live that kind of lifestyle, that's where you go. If you're a man and you want to live like a woman, that's where you go. If you're a woman, you want to live like a man, that's where you go, because everybody there is doing the same thing. And so your neighbor looks something like what he's not. So it's a whole thing. One's the ones that I don't know if Trinidad, Colorado. One's can look it up. It's a factual thing. It's a real. You could look it up right now. I'm pretty sure. And by now it's probably gotten a lot bigger, because this was like years ago that I saw this particular thing. Because just seeing the emergence of where we are now. So there are communities and their whole, then this is a special sector. We know what they're doing with this, the stem cell research, and now they can do gene splicing. They can split ironite genes, and you can merge that with human DNA. They're making vaginas now. You can make they've made an external vagina that can attach. I'm being serious here. The enemy's been heavy at work again to emulate creation. He can't be God, so he wants to emulate God. And so all this technology, all these, quote unquote technology, all these things that are bringing out are supposedly quote unquote helping ones, but they're really part of a major agenda, right? And I point this to say because Trinidad, Colorado, that's where that's where this is most rampant. And of course, I made a few claims before concerning this LGBT thing, lesbian, gay. I don't even know what the acronym means, LGBT. Inversing, you put that versus the RGB, which is the red, green, and black, or RBG, or whatever it is, right? And who really won that battle, and who is really more implementing their point of view? And if you really notice, we spoke about the, if you talk about human rights, there was a feminism thing that was coming up, and then there was the lesbian gay thing that came up, and these are being more implemented more than our. Let me just say this: a few references, and give thanks to Rebbe for pointing out this brother on the YouTube, Conspiracy Dude. The ones who I would definitely recommend the ones to check out the brother's channel. He has he has quite a few, and he goes to the facts. He doesn't and so for the ones who, to go into. I think Wyndham Yadin had put on it was concerning the title, this Illuminati. But let me not jump too much. Let me just, I want to shout the brother's channel, CDF. Just go on YouTube, just type in CDF, and you can see, I think a brother with a shadowy hoodie on it. Just subscribe or just click on, go through what he has, and you can see a few things. But again, let me go back to the main point. This transhumanism, transgenderism, reptilian agenda. Anyway, so all right, so I stress about the town and everything else, and we know, all right, so we know about the reptilians and whether or not ones want to believe that's true. We have, we know of the reptilian nature, or whether or not they're actually true. Once they want to say it's UFO people, aliens, etc., whatever it is, or whatever you want to call them. They're not us, but they're trying to be like us, and so they're trying to use, with ironite DNA, try to fuse ironite DNA with all kinds of different things. Now, as I was saying before, you can splice different genes. You can make, clones of other things. They can do a lot of things, and a lot of things they don't even tell us about. They're so advanced with it. We don't even, they tell us about certain things, but we don't really know the true extent. But this has been an agenda for quite a long time. And I'm saying all this to say, okay, and I'm about to go there, brothers and sisters, so, bear with I if this sounds a little bit off. I just ask that the item have an open mind with this, and check out some of the references I is about to point out. And, it'll take you a little bit of time to do, but listen to it, and then, and go do the research and see if the story, if you get the same feeling that I got, all right? So anyway, concerning this whole agenda, right? It's a huge thing, and let me see. I had a few notes here. All right, and because I pointed before about a video I saw concerning the Williams sisters, Serena and Venus, right? Let me just give the references. Let me just pull out here. Well, let me just say. Let me just kind of see if I can spell it out and see if I can merge I notes. I would just have a few things that I had written down, and just as as the annotation was kind of spurring along. But anyway, in terms of the transhumanism, transgenderism, right? And I'm gonna give a few examples here. Was this Justin Bieber, right? And I know brothers, I know Rastafari. We're like, well, we're talking about Justin Bieber, but Justin Bieber is truly a woman. Justin Bieber is a woman, and through extensive research and hormones, has been transformed. It was born a woman, and it was transformed into a man. Right? We're speaking about transgenderism here, where this is preferred and decided upon, and put in front of us, right in our faces, and we don't really know. Ones might think, well, why, Rastafari, this is a Shabbat show, we're coming, but, this is important, because what I know is about to come, this is just one example. Justin Bieber, born a woman, posing to be a man, as well as the, and again, these are just I own opinions, but Serena Williams is also a man, born a man, lives as a woman. That's I opinion. Yours, but there's research out there. Let me just give a few references. Take a look at some of the videos, and ones might laugh and might think it's, really, this is a serious thing. It's a serious thing, right? If you go on YouTube, you type in irrefutable proof. Just type in irrefutable proof, and you should get a few videos out there. Irrefutable proof, and then that Justin Bieber is a woman. You go look at that video. It's about 40 minutes long. And you will begin to see, my brothers and sisters, if you have a spiritual eyes open. I recommend ones if you have a couple hours to yourself, maybe not now as we're gathering, but later on, take a listen. You always, go on the sacramental anointing, take a look and listen. Truly, and listen to what's being said. There's also one with Serena Venus. I actually put this one on my Facebook, and I mentioned it as well in the previous podcast. I can't get the name at the moment, but one should know. Just look up Venus Serena as a man, or what? Just look that up. Look it up, my brothers. I'm being real here. I took the whole time in the beginning of this podcast because I think it's a pretty important thing. Right. The next video to look up is irrefutable proof. Look up irrefutable proof that Michael Obama is a man. And brothers and sisters, all right, I'm about to make, that's the claim that I is making. Again, this is I own opinion. All right. As well as Jennifer Aniston. But the claim is that, I saw the video, the claim is that Obama is a homosexual. And Michelle Obama, or Michael, is a transgender. The quote-unquote first lady is actually one of their first examples of transhumanism. And again, you might be like, wow, that's not, no, Rastafari, what are you talking about, Liz Zawadi, man? It's not. Go look at the video. I'm being very serious. Look at the video, look at the proof, and have an open mind and be like, okay, well, listen. And think about, and again, having the full story now, plug that into what the enemy's plan has always been. And you can see that, that there might be, in these videos, they touch on certain things, but with your spiritual eye and the other things that you can kind of put it all together in a sense. It would make such sense that, because, why would, anyway, yes, we can, right? Yes, we can. Transhumanism. transgenderism, right? That's the claim that I is making. Brothers and sisters, if you're a man, if you're a brother, if you're a Wyndham, right? If you put out your palm, let's say you hold your hand out. Hold your hand out, whether palm down or palm up, right? For all men, your index finger, the finger that you point with, the index finger is always shorter than your ring finger. Ones and ones, if you're listening, you could do it right now if you like. Put your palm out, put your hand out, look at your hand, and your index finger is always shorter than your ring finger. That's a trait of a man. For the sisters, for the sisters that are on the line, if you put out your hand as well, put out your hand in a palm facing up, a palm facing down. Look at your palm finger. Look at your palm, and your index finger is going to be longer than your ring finger. That's how we know you're a woman. When they used to excavate bodies, that's how they used to, when you look at bones, when you do an excavation, that's how they identify whether it's a man or a woman based on that particular structure. I think it's, let me see, I wrote it down actually. One's can look it up. The 2D, 4D, does that say digit? 2D ratio, 4D ratio, digital, I can't see what I wrote here. But you can look it up. It's a term. Go on to Wikipedia and you can see what I'm speaking about. Or as I mentioned, just look at those videos, those particular videos there, and see if it doesn't change your mind, or not change your mind, but just it's an interesting thing to look into. Because again, if you plug into what the main aim of the enemy is, you would realize how far the deception has gone. The deception has gone really, really far out of there. If you look at, and they're physically, a lot of the people that are out there in this world, in this social world, in this, entertainment world, have not only, well, we know this, they've sold their souls, obviously, right? But there's a lot of gay, homosexual, lesbian undertones that are not shown and promoted. For once to get these roles and these positions, they have to do certain things. Not only do they have to sell their spiritual soul, but they have to, physically do some horrible things, in a sense. And the origination, if you think about it, and I'm going to say again, this is a long point, and bear with I and I, brothers and sisters, right? But Justin Bieber is a woman, Jennifer Aniston is a man, Serena Williams is a man, Obama is a homosexual, Michelle Obama is a transsexual. Look at this. They killed Joan Rivers. They did an Illuminati assassination on Joan Rivers because Joan Rivers said it in public that Obama. You can look that up as well. Listen, if you look at the videos, you'll go down that rabbit hole, as it were, and you'll take you to where you need to go. But Joan Rivers just recently passed away. Comedian, old lady. She wasn't that funny. She was, just these comedians think being raw is being funny, but she was, and she, shortly after that comment, when she basically said on air, on camera, that Obama's homosexual and she was, and this is documented as well. You can check the videos out. These are all out there. Now, so they're trying to change. We know about the effeminization of the black male and what's been going on with that particular, and again, this is all to change the roles. The gender roles are now being switched and converted. Now the woman is the man of the house and the man is like the little, we don't want to talk about it, but it's a high, all the high, deviancy, the high amount of the homosexuality and all this nastiness is going on amongst I brothers and sisters. One's the one who admitted we don't want to talk about it, but the most flamboyant, the gayest of the gay are all of is the niggas, so to speak. You understand? And we don't want to speak about it, but it's true. And we're being influenced because this goes further. This goes so far. I'm saying that the level of deception, my brothers and sisters, goes so far deep. It's so deep to even pull yourself out of it. This is, we're dealing with a true enemy here. Jehovah's, and only us who have the spiritual eyes to see can really point these things out. Even if we put Sinai in danger for saying I'm making these claims here on the air live and being, ones might be like, whoa, this is going crazy. Look at the videos, take a listen. Jehovah's, these are real facts. And, I don't have to go into too much why. The videos will explain themselves to give you some of the information. You can go look these things up, check it out, and form your own opinion. Right? But it's been transcending. If you look at even in fashion now has been changing. Now there's this male and female distortion. Male clothes look like female clothes now. Women's clothes look like men's clothes now. It's like, what's going on? Especially, considering that all of these designers are all gay anyway. And let me just, I'm saying, hopefully I don't get censored here. I'm not, I didn't even think about that. That's, I know we're on the air here, but I'm just trying to be a little bit raw, and hopefully, we don't get disconnected. And I fear no evil, and I push forward. So. We all know about the homosexual undertones in the hip hop industry. We don't talk about these things. As Rastafari, it's not our music, it's the Portavine people, and they're influencing a lot. But there's a lot of homosexual undertones, this kind of down low homosexuality going on amongst, and now we see the rappers are all wearing skinny jeans. Some of them are wearing dresses. Yeah, you can look that up as well, my brothers. I'm not, wearing dresses too, and of course, these are going to be the trends. A couple of years from now, the trend will be wearing dresses. This transhumanism, this transgenderism has been transcending for a long time. And as I said before, the enemy he's subtle. He goes little by little, little by little, little by little, and you think that nothing is going on, but little by little, he's making progress on certain things. And pulling apart little by little the fabric of society. Think about the Justin Bieber thing, right? And ones don't want to believe me, but go Google Justin Bieber, look at the face, and see the feminine structure, and think about how possible it would be. And look at that documentary, just Google Trinidad, Colorado. These are true things. This is happening right now. This is what's happening in front of our face. And think about, the little child now who's being, these Bieber fans, and look, Justin Bieber, his whole slogan is believe. Believe, Justin Bieber believed, believe that lie, Jehovah's. And for these young children, deception sets the stage for gullible people to become attracted to the people of the same sex. When they realize, what has happened. It often results in a sense of betrayal and promotes, confusion about their own sexual orientation. And this is what's in society now. That's why you see so prevalent that people are so gender benderish. This young generation coming up, a lot of them are, and there's the level of deception. It goes so much deeper than we think it is, and they go from very, very early in the generation stage. They get us from the babies, the stuff that they put on the television. They capture them from a very, very young age, and that, indoctrinates them in a sense. There's a few points I want to make concerning I, because I know there's the whole generational thing that's been happening as well. Maybe we need a sacrificial generation in a sense, because what we did with human rights and this, Martin Luther King thing, wasn't the right thing to do. Especially when we had that momentum, especially when we were getting so much stronger. We were just starting to do things and we sold out. And now our generations are to suffer unless our generation, this generation here, has to do something. But we'll get to that point. So now you have, ones like Kanye West and others wearing women's clothing, and this whole thing is being promoted. So let me push for it. Look at even the media. Right, we know about the Dave Chappelle thing. Dave Chappelle, he turned down a role and a big lump sum of money, and all these they're trying to get him to do because they were trying to get him to put on a dress, and he basically said, "I'm not gonna do, we can keep your money. I'm not gonna put on a dress." And if you look at look at all the previous people who've had any success, and if you go look up as well, and you'll see some of these, and maybe not that video. There's another video, but if you go look it up as well, I think there's probably websites that have give you comparisons. you could look at screenshots of how many actors and actresses have done gender bending roles where, and these are, when I say that, these are the ones that are the ones that are highly successful are the ones who've done it. And you can look that up as well. And there's a whole video, but again, hopefully that, because he was looking at a website, hopefully I know you should be able to see the split screens of the actual actors and then the split screen of them appearing on screen as a woman. And this is not just black people. This is also white and black, actors. But again, the real successful ones who are still old and still making movies, these guys, Jehovah's. You think about Martin and Jamie Foxx and Eddie Murphy, Tyler Perry, Wesley Snipes. There's quite a lot of us, and I won't go through again. These are, it's not even only within our community. I'm talking about all actors. Most actors have done some kind of a gender trans something, and this is helped to elevate them, to their quote unquote stardom. But again, these things are all subtle, and it's been all incrementally done. All right, and you got to think about it how. The enemy takes various shapes and sizes and forms and genders. They say that, the devil comes in all, he's both man and woman, in a sense. He is a transgender. He always, and he's trying to make the world emulate him. So he wants a bunch of them. And think about how much sense it would make to have, and how, of Obama, and look at Michelle, look at that video, my brother. Look at that video. And look at your hand. I just told you, look at your palm and see if I was right. For men, your index finger is smaller than your ring finger, etc., and reverse for the women. Then go look at pictures of them and look at, there's also the torso structure. There's a reason why a woman is shaped a certain way. Where the torso is shaped. Torso is shaped, that's what we call that Coca-Cola hourglass figures, because their hips are shaped a certain way because they have to have the ability to bear children. And I know there's various plastic surgery that's out there, but the clear indications of human anatomy are if you know what you're talking about, human anatomy cannot be fooled. And perhaps nowadays you can't tell because they've gotten so advanced, they can take shots of this and do corrective surgery and remove their Adam's apple and get breast implants and do. But, human anatomy cannot be fooled. And again, the information that was brought out in those particular videos, you can take a look, are pretty convincing, especially that, but again, this is finite to look into, and hopefully we can get into some more discussions, further on. Now, this whole thing, not the whole thing, but let's talk about the origination. When you get into certain fraternities and sororities, there's an initiation period. They call it the hazing period, where you have to go in, and they oftentimes humiliate you, and do some, you got to do some whatever just to get in that sense. And for certain, higher echelon chapters, in a sense, they go far with it, and that's an example. That's all stems from Skull and Bones. In the Skull and Bones Society, they would have these secret sexual parties. The eyes wide shut thing is not fake. It's really true. That's really what happens. And they have these sexual perversions, and these, it's a ritual, and this is how you get in. You have to go through and do these whole things. And some of them, some people might have to do some homosexual things. Some women might get raped, and these are, and they're but this is the price they pay to get into these societies. This is how we get to, Hollywood actors get to how they get to. Jehovah's. Anyway, Skull and Bones. So they originated, it all stemmed from the Skull and Bones thing. And again, it came from that whole notion of, and then also the men also have to wear a dress many times in these hazing periods, have to wear a dress or just like a girl. Again, not nowadays, but in the real higher echelon of these societies, these are the things that you have to do. And, they have to change the gender because, again, the enemy himself, that's what he wants. He wants to pull away, again, he hates humanity. So anyway, let me push forward. I know I'm taking a lot of time. Let's go rush it through here. And, there's if you watch the video, it shows you how the man's body is shaped, you know, in that downward triangle, you know, from the shoulders. If you draw a line from shoulder to shoulder and then down to the crotch area, that'll be like a triangle. And based on the shape of the anatomy, you know, the side, you know, the obliques and everything else, it kind of goes, you know, in line with that. So it kind of forms like a triangle. For the woman, it's like the opposite. For men, it's like a downward triangle. For women, it's the upward triangle, right? They're shaped, you know, not as broad as a man on the top and a little bit spread out on the bottom. So, you know, and then, you know, so that's the whole thing with the upward triangle, downward triangle. You know, we know that's, you know, part of Sinai symbol for Israel. And then, of course, we put the cross, which is Yeshua, HaMashiach, in the middle. Anyway. And then, let's talk about, and then, of course, we know, all right, so we know about the whole, it goes deep, man. It goes deep. You know, you've seen pictures there of Obama kissing a man, right? I think I put that on Groundation, but you can look that up as well, you know, and all this, you know, and think of how much sense it would make and how, and, you know, anyway. We also have Lil Wayne as well, you know, Weezy, this, you know, Mr. Skinny, you know, he called himself the Skinny Jeans Maniac, Skinny Jeans Maniac, you know, and you got to, you know, why the dreadlocks? That's another thing. You know, most of these guys have dreadlocks, and you would think that now most of the rappers that are coming up, they all have, you know, and you know, maybe it's fashion trend, maybe just you know, time, you know, change of the times or whatever it is. But so most of the ones that are coming out, they have dreadlocks now, and so, you know, but what they're rapping about, the whole thing goes totally against what we would look like as Rastafari, Yehovah's. So the general public would, when they see us in public, they would identify us with those people, in a sense. These Molly popping, alcohol drinking, you know, Hennessy drinking, you know, 40 drinking, pan sagging kind of people because of our locks, right? If you think about the association, white people, you know, some people, they don't know any better, you know, so they just, you know, and these guys seem to be the ones who are getting more and more shine and more, even though they're not really. But, you know, hip hop itself is a whole other thing. I know ones and ones, you know, probably have opinions on that as well. And there's also a video, you know, again, you can look these things up. He actually admits to being raped, and that's another thing, you know, easy. So anyway, I was getting to this whole thing, right? And then how, you know, I think that, you know, Hillary will be probably the next president. All things seem to be pointing in that direction. And, you know, you look at these various, you know, and again, I could be wrong. This could be something totally different, but I believe this was probably what's going to happen. It seems to be the next logical step in that sense. You know, you understand? You see it being hinted on various movies and programs, etc. You know, they prepare you beforehand for these things visually, you know. But, you know, just think about what's, you know, it's just like, you know, it's amazing what's been happening now with, you know, the advances in technologies and what we've been able to do there. The enemy's been busy. And again, ones might not, you know, ones don't have to take what I is saying. You don't have to believe, you know, not Obama. No, that's my, you know, not Obama. Right? No, you can't. No, not Obama. Right? Look at the video. Look at the facts. Think about it. See how it could play into the story as it is now in their agenda. You know, we just had this whole situation with the nuking. You know, they just, you know, quote unquote, all of a sudden they lost control of a drone and killed people with, you know, come on, man. You know, that was done deliberately. They're killing people with drones and shit now. We don't even need to send soldiers out. Send a drone out, bomb the whole place, and then be out. Nobody knows who did it. Nobody, you know, and that's what they do right now. Now we, you know, this whole apology thing. But anyway, as well as we have, check this out, InfoWars, Mr. Alex Jones. It appears that Mr. Alex Jones is not Mr. Alex Jones. Ones might be looking at him like, "What? This, you're talking some real far out things there, Lidzwadi." All right, look it up. You ever ask yourself, I always wonder, well, how come Alex Jones has all this information about secret societies and all? He's been putting out these videos and all these, making these commentary. He has such a successful show. How come they didn't kill him yet? If he was a real threat, as he seems to be, Jehovah's, or are they letting him do it? Well, look it up. Alex Jones is not Alex Jones. Alex Jones is Bill Hicks. Ones don't believe me? Google on your phone. If you have your phone on you, if you're next to a computer, Google Bill Hicks. Take a look at that picture. Bill Hicks is a comedian. Well, he put himself out as a comedian, and apparently he died, and came back as Alex Jones. Ones might not believe me, but he was a CIA agent. Bill Hicks. He worked for the CIA and re-emerged as Alex Jones. There was another Alex Jones. One's probably like, wow, what is this? But look at it, if you're near to a computer, if you're listening to this broadcast, I don't know what's going to happen to I now. Now that I said all this. But the truth has to come out. We need I own Rastafari and InfoWars in that sense. And there's videos out there. Look it up. Alex Jones, Bill Hicks. Check out a couple of the articles that are out there. Also check out some of the videos. He actually admits to it, in a jokingly kind of manner. But you can look at these things. Look these things up. Ex-CIA operative, as well as Mr. Mark Dice. Oh. So, the level of deception goes deep, my brothers and sisters. A lot of things are out there that we think is, but what it really isn't. And I could be very wrong in I assessments and I statements here tonight. That's why I try to preface with I. They're just the views and opinions of Rastafari. But I felt it's necessary to at least compile some of these things. And if if you're listening to this word sound of power here, whether or not you agree or not agree, I think you still owe it to yourself to take a look at what and perhaps you had these, perhaps you looked at it before. Maybe you had this, and maybe you dismissed it before. Maybe, I don't know. Check out the videos, take a listen, and see what the item think. Because I think, it makes so much sense. You understand? Yes, we can. It makes so much sense if you really think about it. And ones might not be you might not be as receptive, because it's but look at really look at the evidence. It really is true, and these people did a good job. I'm recommending these videos because I think the presentation of things are enough that the ones of a spiritual eye can kind of discern on their own, and it can kind of say, all right, well, no, I don't really think. Oh, well, they were kind of reaching on this point, but at some level, you can come to your own your own understanding of what they're trying to say. And you can say yay or nay. But I looked it out, and I was like, well, you know what? Checked out, did some research. And I was like, wait a minute now. And, considering how it was before when we discovered that we were lied to about certain aspects of our lives, and how devastating that was. I kind of felt the same kind of way. And I was like, not in a bad way, because I know, again, and that's why we know that it's close to the time. That's why we know. That's why, it has to be. As it was in the beginning, so shall it be in the end. Jehovah's. But again, a lot to think about. I was just started to think about a lot of things there. And you think about, and it's not only these people that I've mentioned. There are many more of them. And this gay, this LGBT agenda, this transgenderism, transhumanism, reptilian agenda. Was just like, what is this world? What is this life? It's like everything is a lie. And give thanks to Yeshua HaMashiach Jesus Christos, I Black Lord and Savior, the bane Ha Elohim, the real truth, the only truth, the way, the truth, and the life. I give thanks for the item giving I air here. And we will go straight into the RSS number 2728, the Torah portion overview, where we'll go through the reading of the word. And I also have some notes concerning this Torah portion. Hopefully I can get to that as well. And of course, I blessed panel that has been assembled, I fellow brothers and sisters. As I mentioned before, in the studio we have Brother Ayason, Brother Yipti, as well as the Rabbi Rashi, Don Estefadi, and a whole host of I brothers and sisters have gathered as well. And I give thanks for the item giving I ear. I just had to let it out loud. I was just contemplating whether or not I should say something, or but it's been an I and it's like, wow. And again, ones don't have to believe I. Take a look for yourself, form your own opinion, and see how it is, and plug it into what the item already knows. The Ira tells you, the Ira speaks truth, and the only truth is Hamashiach. So anyway, my brothers and sisters, that's it for breaking news. Take a pause for the cause. Be back and forth. Shalom. Oh, shalom. Psalm 58, verse 3. The wicked are estranged from the womb. They go astray as soon as they be born, speaking lies. Oh, there's much to touch on, my brothers and sisters. May kind of come forward in a few moments.
Fight another day. Had you heeded that day? gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. Glorious things have been spoken of the O city of God. I'll make mention to Rahab and Babylon to them that know I. With the old Philistine Tyre, with Ethiopia, it shall be said that this man was born there, and the highest himself shall establish the earth. Jah Rastafari.
Shalom again. Give thanks. Greetings to the Idam. This is btaregz, and greetings to the Idam, and give thanks to ones who have been gathering, and the family that's listening to us online, and the ones who will listen to us in the forward. Again, this is the gathering for RSS number 27 and 28. It's a double portion for this Parsha overview show. And so we have the readings to get to, and we definitely will get to the readings tonight. Torah portion readings are Leviticus 12, all the way to chapter 15, the end of that chapter. We have the prophets reading, 2 Kings 4, and actually today we'll perhaps play from 4 all the way to 7. So we can play perhaps that full stretch of chapters. I believe I should have it loaded up. And the New Covenant, the New Testament readings, John 6, verse 8 to 16. I'm sorry, 8 to 13. Matthew chapter 8, verses 1 to 4, and Matthew 8, verses 1 to 17. So we will get to the reading of the Torah portion as we do when we gather here on the air and in the spirit. And as I mentioned before, and give thanks again for one's for your patience there as I had to take up a little bit of time just to get a few things out. And as I mentioned before, we in the studio with I, and we have I fellow co-laborers, Brother Iason of Rastafari Talmud on the WordPress, and as well as Brother Yipti, RastafariRenaissance.com. And we do also have the esteemed pleasure of having I main speaker here and blessed teacher, the Ras Rebbe, Ras Yonas Tefadi, of the Line of Judah Society of the Imperial Majesty. And so, before we go forth, and again, I know because the Torah portion, I want to get something in in Matthew's chapter 8 there, concerning this Torah portion. And I don't really mean to be bouncing because I know we're gonna, the Torah portion is a whole thing in itself. We're gonna go through clean and unclean for men and women, and well, a few other things, but. Let me just continue where I just want to get one other thought out concerning this the Bill Cosby thing. Forgive I know I'm going left and right here concerning that and what actually happened with that and the reason why he's being slandered in this way. And it's really because he pissed off the wrong people, and so that's the first thing that they use, especially when you get to a certain level. Is you gotta play the role, and if you don't play the role, don't play nice, they will slander you and either eventually make you broke or even worse. So anyway, enough about these things. Again, I know we have there's a lot to touch on this Torah portion concerning the leper, and we also hear in the prophets of Gehazi, one of the servants of the prophet, and how that whole situation with the leprosy. And there's a heavy theme in this Torah portion. But anyway, a lot of things to tie into it because again, seeing what Yeshua did in Matthew. But before again, I've already taken up quite a lot of time. Brothers and sisters, we have about 35 minutes in this podcast, and we should have, willing, a full hour after that. And as ones know, we should be regrouping here at 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, where then we should be able to get a full 2 hours and hopefully, willing, a third hour as well to push, to help us with the timing here and continue to touch with I brothers and sisters and, get the inspiration of one's words, sound, and power and the thoughts and emotions. And, I know there's been much ones have perhaps been meditating on and, I want to, because I know there's a lot of ones who have, and I look forward to when ones come forward with their notes, particularly when it relates to this whole portion. as we know, even though it's one word that we all read, but we get different manifestations amongst all of us in different ways. And it's a blessing to hear when ones and ones come forth and see the different messages given to I and I through the reading of the word. And so tonight is no different, and hopefully we can get to do that and utilize the time that we have with this portion, as well as the overdrive show that should be coming up at 1 a.m. So anyway, Micah and I push forward, and I'd like to introduce, as I mentioned before, we have I and I fellow co-laborers with us. But I want to touch base with I and I Rebbe, the teachers here, Rasi Donistafadi of the Lion of Judah Society of Imperial Majesty. And I give thanks, Rebbe, for making it here on the podcast. And the family greets the eye, and I greet the eye in Shalom. Shabbat Shalom, Sema Salam. I give thanks for the eye making it here. Much love and greetings, Rebbe, if you're there. Shalom.
Oh, Shalom, Shalom, Rastafari. Greetings, Legislawadi. I don't know how to follow up on that. But as I told the eye, while the eye was reasoning on that transgender, transhumanism, reptilian, I thought of Bob. I thought of Burhana Selassie and the Midnight Ravers, and that one verse, that one not refrain, but that verse in the song, which can be a refrain, where he says, "You can't tell the woman from
the man."
Yeah, same pollution, and does it pause for a moment and say, wait, what did I and I Wyndham, Burhana Selassie, what did he see, both physically, but moreover, iritically, spiritually, in that time? Like, I don't know what year that song was done in, but it's just so interesting, because if he were, to testify amongst us right now, what would he say? Have we been, like, in a sense, lullabied, into, where almost you get used to it? It's like normalcy, it's like that I Have a Dream speech was called Normalcy or something like that, the original, where things become normal. But I really have to, say Baruch Atah Adonai, for the I, bringing that forward to I and I, because as Ephesians 5:11 says, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them. Well, let's first of all touch on a couple of quick things right here. And even as I said, I was like meditating, Corinthians, I think 1 Corinthians chapter 14, where it speaks about when we come together, whether like now in the air or on the air and in the spirit, or whether we come together ones and ones as we get to come together, always in the irit, in the spirit of the King of Kings in Christ. It says that each one, would have whether a psalm or each one would have a doctrine. Here's the verse right here. It's actually 14, I think it's 14 and... where's the verse? Here it goes, 14:26. It says, how is it then, brethren? Because this is like the order of the ministry, and this is a radio ministry, and I think it was very important to touch on that. But I also notice, iritically, how that links with this double portion, 2015, seeing that we have, it's a common year. It's not a leap year, so some of the portions double up, and 27 and 28, in the Hebrew, Tazria and Metzora. Well, Tazria means she conceived, in the Amharic Balmarinya in His Majesty's Bible, btaregz, which basically means something same and similar, she conceives, and Metzora, or beMntsatu, like in the cleansing, beMntsatu ken, in the day of cleansing. But in the Hebrew, it's interesting, because if you read the names together, it would be she conceives one disease. Well, the type of disease they're speaking about is leprosy. Now, of course, many of us might, refer to leprosy and, with black skin or melanated skin turning, losing that melanin, like black to white, we can see that level. But if you really go into the detail of the Torah portion, it also speaks about leprosy in a house. It talks about leprosy in the clothing. It's kind of interesting, mind when we start to see things his way. Leprosy in the house, leprosy in the clothing. And then I remember this late Messianic Jewish brother, what's his name, Michael Murphy. You know, we had republished one of his writings called Children of the Ethiopians, Are Ye Not As the Children of the Ethiopians Unto Me? And in that, you know, he encountered some, I think, black Hebrews and Hebrew Israelites. And he addresses it in the book, not to go through it, but it was talking about because he's white or European or Jewish, European Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish, you understand, even though he was a Christ-minded brother, they were saying, oh, you have leprosy. No, that big one right there. And yeah, there's something to that, all that. But remember, it was from black that everything else came from black, you know. That's why Christ took on, you know, Christ was black, you know. He was. But then if he was black, then how do you explain that it says he took on our sinful flesh? Did we do something wrong? You know what I mean? You know, so when we say we as black people, you know, how come all this, you know? One of Sizzler's song, he says, we don't need your disease, we got our own. I was like, wow, that's deep right there. You know what I mean? But in this Torah portion, speaking about leprosy, and in the book, he was talking about, and you can find it, Are Ye Not As the Children of the Ethiopians? I think it's Revelation27.com is the website that has a lot of articles that he put out over the years. I find that one to be one of the most interesting. So in Christian Liberty, we published that to share that with brothers and sisters. He brought forward, like, yes, he admitted, like, yes, you know, because he's, you know, as a Jew, and he understands the Torah, so he understands Christ is in his heart and mind, so that truth is there. So he's like, yeah, you know, to a lot of the claims that the Israelites made. But then he made a very important point. He was saying that his black brothers, many of them suffered leprosy of the mind. When I read it, I was like, oh, I was like, yo, that is deep, you know, leprosy in the sense of the mind. Because just look, first, the chapter, what is it, chapter 12, chapter 13, goes into a big chapter where it breaks down. Remember the second sign that was given to Moses after the sign of the serpent, you know, the rod turning into a serpent? He said, well, if the children of Israel don't believe that one, then the second one, he said, put your hand in your bosom. You know, he put his hand in the bosom, came out white as snow, leprous as snow, and then we get a description in chapter 14 of leprosy. And here's what's interesting, if you really read it. There's the clean leper, and there's the unclean leper. So even though melanated skin turned white, or what we call white, there's a clean leper, and there's an unclean leper. You see, because the skin is white, that doesn't mean one is unclean. You have to really read chapter 13. But it also mentions the blonde hair. I thought that was particularly interesting. You know, the yellow, thin hair, the blonde hair, so forth and so on. But then, when you then go to the next chapter, all this is part of this double portion. Go to the next chapter, it starts to talk about leprosy in the house. And for a while, studying this, I was like, wow, leprosy in the house, is that mold? Is that mildew? You know, I was just thinking about all sort of things. Then it went to leprosy in clothing. Now, the reason why I connect this is because the name of this double portion, the two names of these two sabbatical portions, which are doubled here, one is She Conceives, right? And the other one is One Diseased. So I began to just meditate on how interesting is this? Because everything really begins in that birthing process. Something about this birthing and birthing process is so very close to our Abba Father's heart, to Exyavihah, the sustainer, Yahweh, to Jah's heart. When we read through the scriptures, you'll notice that even the Messiah, even Yeshua, Adonenu, Adonai, even he refers to this birthing process. He talks about it'll be as a woman in travail, and that even men will faint as a woman. You know, men will be in pain as a woman in travail. So he uses this metaphor and even Israel, when it talks about Israel prophetically, after being like the valley of the dry bones, can this people like be born? They be born in one day. So there's a lot of spokenness on birthing process, but the verse that came up to I, and I'm happy that Brother Zawadi had brought that forward to the I, was Psalm 58. Psalm 58:3, where it says they are estranged from the womb. Don't they say nowadays, isn't it this thing that's being said that people are born that way? Is that what they say? And then they basically compare that with black people, you know, the whole civil rights. There's another video. It's not very clear. Like maybe there's a crisper copy. I didn't see the crisper copy, but it's called The Homosexual Agenda. And this was put out by some civil rightsers that were seeing back in the 80s or 90s how the homosexual agenda basically had co-opted the civil rights agenda, a lot of their slogans, a lot of their style, copy their style, everything. That's why today they be talking about, you know, so-called gay, which they stole this word and like witchcraft, they reprogrammed it. Because the word used to mean happy, it used to mean, you know, joyful, you know, one could say, hey, I'm gay, and it didn't mean nothing sexually perverted or perverted, actually, as the elder James Small says, he says there's nothing, you know, it's not even sex. We shouldn't even call it, you know, sex perversion, because it's not really sex. It's really pedophilic abuse. And there's a video. There's an exposed video that I just got to see. One of my brethren brought a copy forward. It's called The Destruction of the Black Family. I would really recommend, you know, if ones can get to, I don't know if it's out there on the YouTubes or whatnot like that, but we have some copies, and, you know, we can link ones and, you know, send a copy to the I, you send a copy to the next I. You know, we can move it around like that. But in the first part of it, Dr. Phil Valentine really gives a really interesting but accurate explanation of, you know, when they say that in the beginning, man and woman, you know, male and female was one, and they talk about this whole androgyny thing. But he really brought out that it wasn't even, you know, we're using the same words, but we're not speaking the same language. You see what I'm saying? But what has happened is that, like with the word so-called gay, you understand, where they took this particular terminology that meant something totally different, and they superimposed it on something that is anything but, no pun intended, gay. You know what I mean? And the birth, one, she conceives, right, and one disease. And so this Torah portion, the first part of this Torah portion that hopefully we'll get into very shortly and begin to listen of, with Alexander Scorby, our designated reader, it is the law of motherhood. That's what it's called, the law of motherhood. And the Spirit kept just reminding me in some of the other things I was reasoning on in some of the videos that, yes, that's the law of motherhood. But then what we have today, we have the broken law of motherhood. Why do you think it was necessary for the enemy, right, to approach the female first? You see what I'm saying? And why do you think it would have been necessary, if it had been done, for Adam, you know what I mean, to do something more than wait for the fruit to be passed him, eat, and then blame everybody but himself? You see what I'm saying? So the speaking out on these things, the exposing these things, sure, something might not be as right or exact if more facts come out, but based on a lot of the facts, these are the things that do need to be exposed. So it says here, let me get forward to this, stay on the path. 1 Corinthians 14:26. How is it then, brethren, when ye come together, every one of you hath a psalm, hath a doctrine, hath a tongue, hath the revelation, hath an interpretation. Let all things be done to the edifying. Let's quickly break this down. So when we come together, ones would have a psalm, like a chant, a psalm, chant, praises, ises. One would have a doctrine, teaching. Give us teachers, Matthew. We don't want no devil's philosophy. Would have a tongue. the tongue mean, like even on the word gay, getting into the English language, recognizing that the real meaning of the word have nothing to do with so-called homosexual sodomite, intercourse, right? But so getting into the tongue, getting into language, whether the Amharic, whether the Hebrew, Tazria, what does it mean? She conceives, Metzora, what does it mean? One disease, referring to, you understand, leprosy. But it's not just leprosy in the skin. You see what I'm saying? There's also leprosy in the house. There can also be leprosy in clothing. And I just, when I was thinking about it, I said, you know how they're using all this so-called nanotechnology? And then I was thinking about how the Torah says that fabrics should not be mixed. You know what I mean? Some fabrics should not be mixed. Now, I know maybe have clothing or whatever else like that. It could be just things we wear around the house. Okay. It's not being pharisaical, but really looking deeply into the law. You know what I mean? You begin to recognize that this was the template that now the enemy knows exactly where to get us, because a lot of these clothings, whether it is in the style of the unisex, I think that's what Bob was probably looking at that time, because a lot of that unisex, that unisex was coming out and everything like that at that particular time, or to the skinny jeans, the dresses, the electro pretending to be a magnetic, and the magnetic pretending to be electro, or the male being a woman a male. But then also what's also happening with the child abuse, that's going on, and also what is happening with women in the society. When we talk about the single, we speak about the ratchet, so forth and so on, blase, blase. But that also affects the important part of life, whether the woman has suffered trauma, in the carrying of children. You know what I mean? And how this does up, not saying that one is born that way, but sets up this confusion. The male electrical, the female magnetic, and the two fuse together. But now what do we have in this Babylon? Babylon is confusion. So if two fuse together, see, when it says male and female, it is speaking they were male and female, but not in the physical, coming down to this rate of vibration. The genders were distinguished. So satanic agenda, since he hates humanity, is to destroy humanity by destroying the gender. And this is like the whole population control or whatever they want to call it. You know what I mean? Because also this is another way of reducing the population. So you see Satan has a multi-spectrum attack. It's like on more than one particular level, but all things be done to the edifying. In other words, I think what you brought forward was very important, very necessary. I don't know if I thought consciously or overtly, in a sense, how what you was bringing forward does connect even with this Torah portion. We know that in Deuteronomy 22 where it says a woman, a man should not wear that which pertains to a woman, not pertain to that which pertains to a man. But you remember what it says, that as it was in the days of Noah, so shall the day. Think that what is going on now is the first time this has ever happened, or probably it's the worst it's ever happened. This has ever happened. Why do you think like the creation to be said? Because the destruction of humanity on a multi-spiritually, in a sense, psychologically, right, and physically or physically as well. So the inspiration given to I in this particular Torah portion, I want to just share this with the I briefly, and then, we can meditate and hopefully begin on the law Bible. There, Psalm 51:5 and John 3:6. I just want to share that with the I, because I think the law of motherhood is the law of the matrix. The matrix, like they say, matriarch, the matrix basically means the womb, right? You know, and we as brethren really need to study this subject matter. We need to study this subject matter, because and would have, it's not rulership of like a dictatorship, but that means to be able to guide and to protect and to manage. And because that it's like we're being destroyed. And I love that the brother, they brought this out and brought these things out and shared these links. None of us, know these things going on. We might think, oh, man, I don't want to bring up this subject matter, because then people will be like, why are you talking about that? And you were saying that earlier, but I began to think of Bob Marley's song. I said, but Bob did it so many years ago. You know what I mean? And what do you think him and others, for I would even at least would be exposing it? That at the very least would say, hey, what's going on? Based on the evidence, this seems real, but I'm going to let you know about it. You check it out for yourself, so forth and so on. Because that is, it says we overcome the enemy by our what? By our testimony. True?
Oh, and yes, I just to also touch on, because as we we just passed this the Kemet on trial, and we know that obviously the brothers, the Hebrew camp, had brought out a lot of homosexuality in ancient Egypt, and so again, the enemy from the very beginning has been on this path in a sense, and we know that Egypt in that time influenced the rest of the world. Everything that fashion, just like how America is right now, Egypt was that like that for the rest of the world, because it was the most. And so a lot of the goddess worship and all sorts of things that was going on it went hand in hand with the homosexuality. And just to tie in the point and let the eye go forth. We also have to tie in the teachings of Dr. Neely Fuller Jr. and Francis Cress Welsing concerning racism, white supremacy, in a sense, because this whole thing about turning the men to the men and the woman to the woman, as I mentioned, it leads to this the end game is the population control, and we know that initially started because it didn't really start, but you see, as I mentioned before, it's very prevalent in the I community. And, the fear of the black man reproducing, not only reproducing, but, reproducing with other races. Because basically because of the 1% rule, the 1% rule based on genealogies, certain, from generations, if you have like a little drop of black in you, they have the right to legally disown you. They don't have to give you certain privileges within the family. So they call it the 1% rule. So the minute a black mixes with a white in that sense, and this all leads from that initial hatred-based, doctrine of racism, white supremacy, and leading to us as the children of Israel, and coming forward years and years and generations afterwards. So anyway, a lot of things with this particular topic, and perhaps hopefully we can because I know I didn't make the connection with the leprosy. And I give thanks that the is making that.
Well, before the leprosy, before the disease, right? We first have to return to the womb. You see what I'm saying? In a sense, if we protect the womb according to Jah's law, and therefore the family and that basic structure, then this abomination will not touch us. They will fall by the left and the right hand side, but will not touch us. You know what I'm saying? So exposing these things, yes, but also focusing our main attention on where Jah says we should focus our main attention. You notice How to Make a Slave, the CIA paper that was alleged to be, though they didn't speak that way back in the 1700s. But anyway, How to Make a Slave, the Willie Lynch letter. What they do a lot is like what they did with Protocols of Learned Elders of Zion, is that it was really other people that wrote it, and some probably Jews amongst them, but they put it in somebody else's name, so if it was ever found out, they let somebody, it's a cover story. But the information within it if we see that particular program, we can see that program is being worked out, you know, like the protocols, but it's not just by so-called Jews, but yeah, there are some who call themselves Jews and are not. The Bible already told us, synagogue of Satan, like the Rothschilds and the Red Shields and everything, the small hats, right? But let's look at how to make a slave for a moment. What was the main focus in that document? The main focus was the woman, and because of how she would produce. If they could break her, you see what I'm saying? If they could break her, then they understood the psychology of woman generally, but also of the black woman, of the African, the Hebrew woman, right, as a template for breaking all women, basically. You know, because if you can break the best, then the less will fall in line, like dominoes and everything. You know what I mean? So they said that the black woman was necessary for the economy, so that what they would seek to do through various levels.
I don't know, Rabbi. I know you're still connected, but we're getting some choppy reception there. Are you there? Oh, Rabbi, are you there? All right. I'm pretty sure we'll have a lot of these happenings and occurrences with this broadcast, considering the you know, the direction that we've kind of gone and kind of started out there with. And it's official. Sorry. So Rabbi's has been disconnected there. So, but yes, I know there's a lot to touch on. We have about 8 minutes left, and hopefully another hour after that, and we should come forward with a refresh at 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Brothers and sisters, I know there's a lot of us on the line. We're approaching the last hour, so if you can, stay connected. If you can, try not to get disconnected. Charge your phones. You know, make sure you have secure connections. I seek to get to all ones gathered tonight, especially some of my nice sisters, to touch base with some of my brothers and sisters that are gathered, and ones that I haven't been able to touch with for quite a while. And I know a lot's been discussed, and you know, there's probably a lot to get to. So let me bring forth Diana Wyndham as we await Rebbe, Brother Ayasin, Rastafari. I'm sorry, Diana Wyndham from Rastafari Talmud, Rastafari WordPress. I'm sorry, Rastafari Midrashim on the WordPress. And I give thanks for Diana Wyndham. Ayasin being here with the family. The family greets the eye. Shalom, Brother Ayasin. Greetings.
Oh, whoa, shalom, Wyndham. Shalom, family. And yeah, those are some really interesting subject matters, you know, that the eye has brought forward. And it is kind of interesting today. My daughter was over here, and I think the main focus for I and I right now, not really to get caught up in it, because, you know, Yeshua did show us the lesson of, you know, walking on the water, which could be interpreted as the lower vibrations and whatnot, you know, that are in the world right now today. Also, when Yeshua, you know, Ha'anon, our master, had rebuked the wind, you know, those are some things that are helpful to I and I to think about. You know, when you see, when I do see these things, you know, I'm not really bothered by them. I really am more concerned with our youth, our children, Abba's divine heritage. You know, because even Ephesians, I'm pulling up Ephesians 2:2. You know, it says, wherein in times past, you know, in times past we might have actually been in that type of matrix, but it says y'all walked according to the course of this world, according to the prince of the power of the air. You know, these signals going through the air, the spirit that now worketh in the children of disobedience. So, you know, those are just some thoughts right there. It's definitely time to, you know, really educate our children in His Majesty's divine heritage, you know, to His glory, in the name of Yeshua HaMoshiach. Because, I mean, we have it. Torah, there's so much in Torah. You know, we could figure out the calculations of the universe. We could figure out, you know, they're encoded in it. There's so much. It gives us, you know, like in this portion, it gives us the the guidelines for proper living, you know, the birthing, separation, cleansing, and hygiene. It also gives us prophetic, so we can see what's actually going on in the world. Like, you know, during this study, I think the meditation I and I had really been on was a rejection of Kenamawi Haile Selassie by the rebellious, even, in Ethiopia, not speaking against any of our brothers and sisters, of course, the ones that are martyred. May Allah, Father, reward them according to their faith in Yeshua HaMoshiach, as in Matthew 5:45, He maketh the sun to shine on the evil, and the good, and the rain to come on the unjust and the just. So, it is what it is, basically, not to really get bothered by that. But I was watching my daughter this evening, and, one thing I've really learned to do is not to freak out when I see these things. Like, there's a show called Teen Titans, and they're really trying to get to our children right now. And what it was actually transhumanism or something, because they had this cartoon. It was like this robot guy who thought he was homosexual.
Oh, wow.
And I had to say, okay, look, Mika, look, Jazzy, is this, is it right or wrong for men to try to be women? And, she was like, it's wrong. It's wrong. So I said, yes, you're right. Father God hates that. It's evil. And is it right or wrong for people to want to be robots when Father God made us, created us like in His image and after His likeness? And she said, it's wrong. And, I said, Father God hates it. It's evil in His sight. So, she knows. I feel sometimes, not to stress her out too much, because, I'm like, when I just see, sometimes I'm not thinking, so I'm just like, that's going to mess up your mind. And she understands, but she's like, she get a little bit frightened. She's like, but I don't know what. I was like, okay, I'll teach you, don't worry about it. But anyway, yes, shalom. There's some good revelations, especially in this time. I think the teshuvah, the repentance. There's a call for repentance, a global call for repentance, because leprosy is definitely a spiritual state of mind also. And yes, just give thanks, brethren, and hope to reason a little bit more further after the reading.
Shalom again. Give thanks, Brother Ayasin. And yes, I will be. I'm sure we'll be discussing more as we go forward. But the eye is definitely correct. When I said before, they're targeting. This generation is coming up now. You see, the plan is unraveling, and if this generation that's coming up now is lost because of this blindness, the spiritual blindness of the lost sheeple, then the enemy gets exactly what they want. This prison industrial complex and everything else is a real thing. You understand? And the eventual goal is to turn is to enslave us. They're taking away our guns and ironing out all our civil rights. They're killing us left and right in front of our faces. And these things are But again, I made a blessed point there. Most of the programming from a very small, that influence have this particular agenda built into it from a very early age. And as a parent, if you're not aware, these things can kind of seep in. And there's a reason why. Anyway, there's a reason why they want HD and everything and all sort of stuff. It's more on what the eye perhaps things. But anyway, the Rebbe's joined us and give thanks for the item patience. We're just trying to we had a disconnection there from the Rebbe, and wanted to bring forth Brother Ayasin. Okay, I'm getting a notification. We got about 60 seconds for this podcast. So hopefully one's the ones to stay on as we push forth in this last hour, Yah willing. But I was in the middle of saying that the Rebbe is forward with us here again, and I just want to bring the eye on. Hopefully we can touch where the eye had left off. So if the Rebbe's there, shalom, greetings.
Oh, shalom, and shalom to Ayasin. Give thanks. That's a good word there. Pray for the youth, and just keep, the power of prayer, and praise, is word, sound, and power, but that is teach the youth, the youths are the heritage, and this is why the attack is on the youths. But this, to the point about Willie Lynch, how to make a slave, and the focus on the woman, and the woman being vital for the economics, we might think it's just speaking about the black woman, but then when we look at the whole so-called feminist agenda, and we don't even want to get into Gloria C.I.A. Steinem. We don't even go into her too deeply and how, how even a black woman was used. There was a book that she wrote, and a black woman put it out, but actually she ghostwrote it, and it was, a whole kind of demonization of the black male. Now, a lot of people didn't pay too much attention to that, but now more and more ones are recognizing that is the exact template that is also being used against other groups, even so-called majority white European group. So it even goes beyond. It's almost like first it happens to like Israel. First it happens to black people. And Satan has built up this multi-level deception where he uses the whole racial kind of agenda. You know what I mean? And it's interesting. I say this, and someone might misunderstand this when I said, the so-called white man is not the devil, right? In the sense that people would say he is by the devil, or has been used. You understand? But we're coming to an end time where it seems like everyone is beginning to recognize more or less they're in the same, especially those who are, who are the sufferer side, not those who have sold their souls to it, but are recognizing themselves in the same position. So when in the How to Make a Slave paper, I just wanted to focus on when talking about the woman and is destroying the woman is the key right there. Like even the XX and the XY, I was thinking why is it 40 days for a male child and 80 days for a female child? Some would say, oh, that's because the Bible was misogynistic and sexist. Well, science has found out, or scientists having more knowledge, because science comes from the Latin word scientia, and scientia actually means knowledge. So scientists, those who study knowledge, have come to the knowledge that when a woman has a female child, it somehow seems to take more out of her. I'm not saying every woman probably experiences the same way, but I've looked over some of these studies and tests, and it was interesting, and they couldn't figure out why when a woman has a male child, it seems to take less out of her somehow. I mean, the child might be big and heavy and all of that. That's one thing. But just saying that the woman's recovery time, it's almost like what the Torah says right here about the 80 and the 40 days, has been confirmed by so-called modern scientists with what they have found from their experimentations and based on large groups, and research and all that when a woman has a female child, it seems to take more out of her, whether it's the XX and the XX or it's like and like or something, but with the XY gene, it seems that the child is more self-contained, and besides it being heavy, so forth and so on, takes less out of a woman, the recovery time. Like I said, I've done my own unscientific study on it from some sisters, and some have confirmed it, some have not really noticed. If they had male and female children, they might not have noticed the difference. But I began to think about this 80 and 40, and then I was looking at the XX, right? The XX, if the XX equals 80 and the XY equals 40, could it be that the X equals 40 and the Y equals 0, since basically all that a male child basically needs for its so-called maleness, if that is what is determined, you know what I mean, does not have a drain from the woman. But then I started to go into the mitochondrial DNA. You all know about the mitochondrial DNA, which also connects with the womb in the sense that one can trace people's not through the father's genes, but through the mother's genes, that we as males, we carry, all of us as males, we carry some of our mothers. So in a child, we will pass on to the child in our genes, right, or in our seed, we will pass on actually part of our mother, in a sense. We'll pass on certain data of our own genes, of course, you understand? But on the mitochondrial part, the part that is traceable, over time. So that also connects with the womb. Another word on the womb is what is emphasized here in the law of motherhood. It seems to be what is emphasized is rejuvenation, right? Now the words that are used in purity and this and that, we have to look at them in their fuller context. It's just the King James and this level of language at the time, so forth and so on. So don't let those words throw you off. Look at the overall intent. The overall intent seemed to be a kind of a Sabbath, and a Sabbath or a Shabbat is a rest. Many women, because of this society, and I think you mentioned before, my brother, Edward Bernays, and how he was the one that, through using mind control, propaganda, and advertising, was able to cause women to smoke, or it become a popular, sexy thing for a woman to smoke. You know what I mean? And also understanding this, and this, sisters, this is just kind of scientific here, but I'm just going to use this word, this almost level of, I won't call it narcissism, but it's like if another woman does it, they understand. This is why they put these kind of Pop-Tart icons out there. You know what I'm saying? So it's like there is a kind of, a woman will want one because another woman wants one. So he understood this psychology, so when they had all this propaganda going out, they used it as a test of his theories, that cigarette sales rose up and women started to kind of express this so-called defiance, but actually what they were doing was poisoning themselves. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I just mentioned that as the vulnerable. When it says woman is the weaker sex, like I said before, we use the same words, but not the same language. When the scripture says woman with a weaker sex, it wasn't saying that woman had no strength, but woman is more vulnerable to the satanic attack. This is what it was saying. You know what I mean? And yeah, that it's not that woman is weaker. Because, when we dig into the word and get into the tongue, and really look at the word, we'll be able to see it for our ourselves. I just want to get this point out about the womb man. Now they say woe man. We say womb man. The link with the womb man and the land should not be overlooked. Remember the nation of gods and earths back in the day? Brother Zawadi, how's the I earth? How's the I earth? The earth was to refer to the woman. We say Mother Earth. So even the scripture links, you remember when the Israelites went into captivity with the Babylonians? Now, we know they were idol worshiping and all that and doing all this other stuff, but it seems as though Yah was only concerned to tell them that, you know what, I'm so happy y'all are away from the land because you'll never observe the sabbatical year. You never observe that 1 in 7 years. You never observe that rest, right? The rest for the land. So while the Israelites were in the Babylon and Assyria, I think it's Jeremiah, if I'm correct, that he mentioned that now the land would be able to get its rest. You know what I mean? Would get its rest. So you see, they were overworking the land. Is this something linking with the womb man as well? So we see the link of the rest for the womb man, so that she may regenerate and purify and become pure. Something that is pure is of higher value. So we see the link between the womb man and the land, the sabbatical year, the land, the earth, the womb regenerates, and the earth, the prophet said, the earth would wear out like a garment. It doesn't say that the earth will be in the last time, it's like wearing out. But is the earth wearing out because it's wearing out, or is the earth wearing out because the humanity is wearing out? Which one is causing which? I just put that out there. I don't have, an absolute overstanding of it, but certain things seem to be that earth is wearing out because the custodians of the earth are wearing out or being worn. Matrix, the law of the womb, motherhood, right? But then there's also, in this time, the broken law of the matrix. You know what I mean? The broken law of the womb. And I linked, how to make a slave as a kind of example, not just for black people. Yes, firstly for black people, because first Yeshua came to his own, right? And some of his own received him, but many did not. And then he turned to the Gentiles. Isn't this correct? So in the same way, if you look at what happened with Willie Lynch and how they focused on the woman, right, so-called, quote, slave woman, enslaved black Hebrew woman, right, you can see that the feminist movement, you know, and the ills of it also has focused on the woman it's the same plan, in other words. I'm just trying to point out it's the same plan right there. But but one word I want to just touch on, just to kind of lift this once again into the light of the King of Kings in Christ, connect this with the word. There was Psalm 51, right? There's a footnote, Psalm 51 and 5, and John 3 and 6. I think this would actually show I and I both the way in and the way out. Here it says in Psalm 51 and 5, it says, "Behold, I was shapen in iniquity, and in sin did my mother conceive me." Now, this is David's repentance psalm after he went into Bathsheba and killed Uriah, and it's a very interesting psalm, right? And the next verse it says, "Behold, thou desirest truth in the inward parts, and in the hidden part thou shalt make me to know wisdom." And then it speaks about cleansing and purity, right? Now, we know that leprosy has a lot to do with, or the disease is speaking about blood, and blood refers to life. And life is actually a combination of the male and the female polarities. That's what makes the fusion. And that fusion, in principle, and both among men and women in procreation, right, is life. But when something breaks that law, right, even through restlessness, you know, breaks that law, then sin, right, or evil has an entry, you know. So we have to just consider the divine liberty. John 3 and 6 says this right here. This is the uptake right here. John 3 and 6, it says, "That which is born of the flesh," notice the term, born, right, and there must be some womb, right, there must be some matrix, right, "that which is born of the flesh is flesh." So all of us in our birth was born of the flesh in our first birth. But it says, "And that which is born of the Spirit is spirit. That which is born of the irid is irid." And he says, "Marvel not that I said to thee, ye must be born again." That is the only way out in that sense of this matrix, because ultimately when we look at the land, is the physical land, which is an example, but the higher land is consciousness. It's Christ consciousness. So enter into the promised land, my brothers and sisters. Enter into that rest for your mind, because in these times we see a lot of, in fact, they're using a lot of these things to wear out the saints. You know, it says in the latter days they shall wear out the saints. You know, like somebody who believes 666 is the mark of the beast, you know, because the Bible says the number 6 is. So, you know, let this mind be in you, brothers and sisters, as is in Yeshua HaMoshiach. Yes, I.
So, amen, amen, and amen. Give thanks, brothers and sisters, with the time that we have left, give thanks, Rabbi, and also Brother Ison. As we began there, we'll seek to push forward now and try to utilize the time and go through the Torah portion readings for this strong, number 27, number 28. And then we seek to come forth and greet and Wyndham Yifti, as well as some of the brothers and sisters that are gathered here as well. Sisters perhaps to the front, and then brothers will seek to get to all ones gathered. And of course, as I mentioned, we'll regather and refresh at the top of the hour at 1 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Should we disconnect here right now? So shalom to the IDEM and give thanks. There's still so much more to come. Let's right now take a listen to the reading of the Word. One can get their sacred scriptures, sacred scrolls, and read on, follow up with the reader, Alexander Scorby. Anyway, so without further ado, my brothers and sisters, Let's go forward with the reading of the word. Shalom.
Chapter 12. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, saying, If a woman have conceived seed and born a man-child, then she shall be unclean 7 days. According to the days of the separation for her infirmity shall she be unclean. And in the 8th day the flesh of his foreskin shall be circumcised, and she shall then continue in the blood of her purifying 33 days. She shall touch no hallowed thing, nor come into the sanctuary, until the days of her purifying be fulfilled. But if she bear a maid child, then she shall be unclean 2 weeks, as in her separation, and she shall continue in the blood of her purifying 66 days. And when the days of her purifying are fulfilled, for a son or for a daughter, she shall bring a lamb of the first year for a burnt offering, and a young pigeon or a turtle dove for a sin offering, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, unto the priest, who shall offer it before the Lord, and make an atonement for her, and she shall be cleansed from the issue of her blood. This is the law for her that hath borne a male or a female. And if she be not able to bring a lamb, then she shall bring 2 turtles or 2 young pigeons, the one for the burnt offering, and the other for a sin offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for her, and she shall be clean. Chapter 13. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying, When a man shall have in the skin of his flesh a rising, a scab, or bright spot, and it be in the skin of his flesh like the plague of leprosy, then he shall be brought unto Aaron the priest, or unto one of his sons the priests. And the priest shall look on the plague in the skin of the flesh. And when the hair in the plague is turned white, and the plague in sight be deeper than the skin of his flesh, it is a plague of leprosy. And the priest shall look on him, and pronounce him unclean. If the bright spot be white in the skin of his flesh, and in sight be not deeper than the skin, and the hair thereof be not turned white, then the priest shall shut up him that hath the plague 7 days. And the priest shall look on him the 7th day, and behold, if the plague in his sight be at a stay, and the plague spread not in the skin, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days more. And the priest shall look on him again the 7th day. And behold, if the plague be somewhat dark, and the plague spread not in the skin, the priest shall pronounce him clean. It is but a scab, and he shall wash his clothes, and be clean. But if the scab spread much abroad in the skin, after that he hath been seen of the priest for his cleansing, he shall be seen of the priest again. And if the priest see that, behold, the scab spreadeth in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a leprosy. When the plague of leprosy is in a man, then he shall be brought unto the priest, and the priest shall see him. And behold, if the rising be white in the skin, and it have turned the hair white, and there be quick raw flesh in the rising, it is an old leprosy in the skin of his flesh, and the priest shall pronounce him unclean, and shall not shut him up, for he is unclean. And if a leprosy break out abroad in the skin, and the leprosy cover all the skin of him that hath the plague, from his head even to his foot, wheresoever the priest looketh, then the priest shall consider, and behold, if the leprosy have covered all his flesh, he shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague. It is all turned white. He is clean. But when raw flesh appeareth in him, he shall be unclean. And the priest shall see the raw flesh, and pronounce him to be unclean. For the raw flesh is unclean. It is a leprosy. Or if the raw flesh turn again, and be changed unto white, he shall come unto the priest. And the priest shall see him, and behold, if the plague be turned into white, then the priest shall pronounce him clean that hath the plague. He is clean. The flesh also in which even in the skin thereof was a boil, and is healed, and in the place of the boil there be a white rising, or a bright spot, white and somewhat reddish, and it be showed to the priest. And if when the priest seeth it, behold, it be in sight lower than the skin, and the hair thereof be turned white, the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague of leprosy broken out of the boil. But if the priest look on it, and behold, there be no white hairs therein, and if it be not lower than the skin, but be somewhat dark, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. And if it spread much abroad in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a plague. But if the bright spot stay in his place and spread not, it is a burning boil, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. Or if there be any flesh in the skin whereof there is a hot burning, and the quick flesh that burneth have a white bright spot, somewhat reddish or white, then the priest shall look upon it, and behold, if the hair in the bright spot be turned white, and it be in sight deeper than the skin, it is a leprosy broken out of the burning, wherefore the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy. But if the priest look on it, and behold, there be no white hair in the bright spot, and it be no lower than the other skin, but be somewhat dark, then the priest shall shut him up 7 days. And the priest shall look upon him the 7th day, and if it be spread much abroad in the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is the plague of leprosy. And if the bright spot stay in his place, and spread not in the skin, but it be somewhat dark, it is a rising of the burning, and the priest shall pronounce him clean, for it is an inflammation of the burning. If a man or woman have a plague upon the head or the beard, then the priest shall see the plague. And behold, if it be in sight deeper than the skin, and there be in it a yellow thin hair, then the priest shall pronounce him unclean. It is a dry scall, even a leprosy upon the head or beard. And if the priest look on the plague of the scall, and behold, it be not in sight deeper than the skin, and that there is no black hair in it, then the priest shall shut up him that hath the plague of the scall 7 days. And in the 7th day the priest shall look on the plague, and behold, if the scall spread not, and there be in it no yellow hair, and the scall be not in sight deeper than the skin, he shall be shaven. But the scall shall he not shave. And the priest shall shut up him that hath the scall 7 days more. And in the 7th day the priest shall look on the scall, and behold, if the scall be not spread in the skin, nor be in sight deeper than the skin, then the priest shall pronounce him clean, and he shall wash his clothes, and be clean. But if the scall spread much in the skin after his cleansing, then the priest shall look on him, and behold, if the scall be spread in the skin, the priest shall not seek for yellow hair. He is unclean. But if the scall be in his sight at a stay, and that there is black hair grown up therein, the scall is healed. He is clean, and the priest shall pronounce him clean. If a man also or a woman have in the skin of their flesh bright spots, even white bright spots, then the priest shall look, and behold, if the bright spots in the skin of their flesh be darkish white, it is a freckled spot that groweth in the skin. He is clean. And the man whose hair is fallen off his head, he is bald, yet is he clean. And he that hath his hair fallen off from the part of his head toward his face, he is forehead bald, yet is he clean. And if there be in the bald head or bald forehead a white reddish sore, it is a leprosy sprung up in his bald head or his bald forehead. Then the priest shall look upon it, and behold, if the rising of the sore be white reddish in his bald head or in his bald forehead, as the leprosy appeareth in the skin of the flesh, he is a leprous man, he is unclean. The priest shall pronounce him utterly unclean, his plague is in his head. And the leper in whom the plague is, his clothes shall be rent, and his head bare, and he shall put a covering upon his upper lip, and shall cry, Unclean, unclean. All the days wherein the plague shall be in him, he shall be defiled. He is unclean, he shall dwell alone. Without the camp shall his habitation be. The garment also that the plague of leprosy is in, whether it be a woolen garment or a linen garment, whether it be in the warp or woof, of linen or of woolen, whether in a skin or in anything made of skin, and if the plague be greenish or reddish in the garment or in the skin, either in the warp or in the woof or in anything of skin, it is a plague of leprosy, and shall be showed unto the priest. And the priest shall look upon the plague, and shut up it that hath the plague 7 days. And he shall look on the plague on the 7th day. If the plague be spread in the garment, either in the warp or in the woof, or in a skin, or in any work that is made of skin, the plague is a fretting leprosy. It is unclean. He shall therefore burn that garment, whether warp or woof, in woolen or in linen, or anything of skin wherein the plague is. For it is a fretting leprosy. It shall be burnt in the fire. And if the priest shall look, and behold, the plague be not spread in the garment, either in the warp or in the woof, or in anything of skin, then the priest shall command that they wash the thing wherein the plague is, and he shall shut it up 7 days more. And the priest shall look on the plague after that it is washed, and behold, if the plague have not changed his color, and the plague be not spread, it is unclean. Thou shalt burn it in the fire. It is fret inward, whether it be bare within or without. And if the priest look, and behold, the plague be somewhat dark after the washing of it, then he shall rend it out of the garment, or out of the skin, or out of the warp, or out of the woof. And if it appear still in the garment, either in the warp, or in the woof, or in anything of skin, it is a spreading plague. Thou shalt burn that wherein the plague is with fire. And the garment, either warp or woof, or whatsoever thing of skin it be, which thou shalt wash, if the plague be departed from them, then it shall be washed the second time, and shall be clean. This is the law of the plague of leprosy in a garment of woolen or linen, either in the warp or woof, or anything of skins, to pronounce it clean, or to pronounce it unclean. Chapter 14. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, This shall be the law of the leper in the day of his cleansing. He shall be brought unto the priest, and the priest shall go forth out of the camp, and the priest shall look, and behold, if the plague of leprosy be healed in the leper, then shall the priest command to take for him that is to be cleansed 2 birds, alive and clean, and cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop. And the priest shall command that one of the birds be killed in an earthen vessel over running water. As for the living bird, he shall take it, and the cedar wood, and the scarlet, and the hyssop, and shall dip them and the living bird in the blood of the bird that was killed over the running water. And he shall sprinkle upon him that is to be cleansed from the leprosy 7 times, and shall pronounce him clean, and shall let the living bird loose into the open field. And he that is to be cleansed shall wash his clothes, and shave off all his hair, and wash himself in water, that he may be clean. And after that he shall come into the camp, and shall tarry abroad out of his tent 7 days. But it shall be on the 7th day that he shall shave all his hair off his head, and his beard, and his eyebrows, even all his hair he shall shave off, and he shall wash his clothes, also he shall wash his flesh in water, and he shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take 2 he-lambs without blemish, and 1 ewe-lamb of the first year without blemish, and 3/10 deals of fine flour for a meat offering mingled with oil, and 1 log of oil. And the priest that maketh him clean shall present the man that is to be made clean, and those things, before the Lord, at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall take 1 he-lamb, and offer him for a trespass offering, and the log of oil, and wave them for a wave offering before the Lord. And he shall slay the lamb in the place where he shall kill the sin offering and the burnt offering in the holy place. For as the sin offering is the priest's, so is the trespass offering. It is most holy. And the priest shall take some of the blood of the trespass offering, and the priest shall put it upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot. And the priest shall take some of the log of oil, and pour it into the palm of his own left hand. And the priest shall dip his right finger in the oil that is in his left hand, and shall sprinkle of the oil with his finger 7 times before the Lord. And of the rest of the oil that is in his hand shall the priest put upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot, upon the blood of the trespass offering. And the remnant of the oil that is in the priest's hand he shall pour upon the head of him that is to be cleansed. And the priest shall make an atonement for him before the Lord. And the priest shall offer the sin offering, and make an atonement for him that is to be cleansed from his uncleanness, and afterward he shall kill the burnt offering. And the priest shall offer the burnt offering and the meat offering upon the altar, and the priest shall make an atonement for him, and he shall be clean. And if he be poor, and cannot get so much, then he shall take 1 lamb for a trespass offering to be waved to make an atonement for him, and 1/10 deal of fine flour mingled with oil for a meat offering, and a log of oil, and 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, such as he is able to get, and the one shall be a sin offering, and the other a burnt offering. And he shall bring them on the 8th day for his cleansing unto the priest, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord. And the priest shall take the lamb of the trespass offering and the log of oil, and the priest shall wave them for a wave offering before the Lord. And he shall kill the lamb of the trespass offering, and the priest shall take some of the blood of the trespass offering, and put it upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot. And the priest shall pour of the oil into the palm of his own left hand, and the priest shall sprinkle with his right finger some of the oil that is in his left hand 7 times before the Lord. And the priest shall put of the oil that is in his hand upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot, upon the place of the blood of the trespass offering. And the rest of the oil that is in the priest's hand he shall put upon the head of him that is to be cleansed, to make an atonement for him before the Lord. And he shall offer the one of the turtle doves, or of the young pigeons, such as he can get, even such as he is able to get, the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering, with the meat offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him that is to be cleansed before the Lord. This is the law of him in whom is the plague of leprosy, whose hand is not able to get that which pertaineth to his cleansing. And the Lord spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, When ye be come into the land of Canaan, which I give to you for a possession, and I put the plague of leprosy in the house of the land of your possession, and he that owneth the house shall come and tell the priest, saying, It seemeth to me there is as it were a plague in the house. Then the priest shall command that they empty the house, before the priest go into it to see the plague, that all that is in the house be not made unclean. And afterward the priest shall go in to see the house. And he shall look on the plague, and behold, if the plague be in the walls of the house with hollow strakes, greenish or reddish, which in sight are lower than the wall, then the priest shall go out of the house to the door of the house, and shut up the house 7 days. And the priest shall come again the 7th day, and shall look, and behold, if the plague be spread in the walls of the house, then the priest shall command that they take away the stones in which the plague is, and they shall cast them into an unclean place without the city. And he shall cause the house to be scraped within round about, and they shall pour out the dust that they scrape off without the city into an unclean place. And they shall take other stones, and put them in the place of those stones. And he shall take other mortar, and shall plaister the house. And if the plague come again, and break out in the house, after that he hath taken away the stones, and after he hath scraped the house, and after it is plaistered, then the priest shall come and look, and behold, if the plague be spread in the house, it is a fretting leprosy in the house. It is unclean. And he shall break down the house, the stones of it, and the timber thereof, and all the mortar of the house, and he shall carry them forth out of the city into an unclean place. Moreover, he that goeth into the house all the while that it is shut up shall be unclean until the even. And he that lieth in the house shall wash his clothes, and he that eateth in the house shall wash his clothes. And if the priest shall come in and look upon it, and behold, the plague hath not spread in the house after the house was plaistered, then the priest shall pronounce the house clean, because the plague is healed. And he shall take to cleanse the house 2 birds, and cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop. And he shall kill the one of the birds in an earthen vessel over running water. And he shall take the cedar wood, and the hyssop, and the scarlet, and the living bird, and dip them in the blood of the slain bird, and in the running water, and sprinkle the house 7 times. And he shall cleanse the house with the blood of the bird, and with the running water, and with the living bird, and with the cedar wood, and with the hyssop, and with the scarlet. But he shall let go the living bird out of the city into the open fields, and make an atonement for the house. And it shall be clean. This is the law for all manner of plague of leprosy and scall, and for the leprosy of a garment and of a house, and for a rising, and for a scab, and for a bright spot, to teach when it is unclean and when it is clean. This is the law of leprosy. Chapter 15. And the Lord spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, When any man hath a running issue out of his flesh, because of his issue he is unclean. And this shall be his uncleanness in his issue. Whether his flesh run with his issue, or his flesh be stopped from his issue, it is his uncleanness. Every bed whereon he lieth that hath the issue is unclean, and everything whereon he sitteth shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth his bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And he that sitteth on anything whereon he sat that hath the issue shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And he that toucheth the flesh of him that hath the issue shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And if he that hath the issue spit upon him that is clean, then he shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And what saddle soever he rideth upon that hath the issue shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth anything that was under him shall be unclean until the even. And he that beareth any of those things shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And whomsoever he toucheth that hath the issue, and hath not rinsed his hands in water, he shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And the vessel of earth that he toucheth, which hath the issue, shall be broken, and every vessel of wood shall be rinsed in water. And when he that hath an issue is cleansed of his issue, then he shall number to himself 7 days for his cleansing, and wash his clothes, and bathe his flesh in running water, and shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take to him 2 turtle doves, or 2 young pigeons, and come before the Lord unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation, and give them unto the priest. And the priest shall offer them, the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him before the Lord for his issue. And if any man's seed of copulation go out from him, then he shall wash all his flesh in water, and be unclean until the even. And every garment and every skin, whereon is the seed of copulation, shall be washed with water, and be unclean until the even. The woman also with whom man shall lie with seed of copulation, they shall both bathe themselves in water, and be unclean until the even. And if a woman have an issue, and her issue in her flesh be blood, she shall be put apart 7 days, and whosoever toucheth her shall be unclean until the even. And everything that she lieth upon in her separation shall be unclean. Everything also that she sitteth upon shall be unclean. And whosoever toucheth her bed shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And whosoever toucheth anything that she sat upon shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. And if it be on her bed, or on anything whereon she sitteth, when he toucheth it, he shall be unclean until the even. And if any man lie with her at all, and her flowers be upon him, he shall be unclean 7 days, and all the bed whereon he lieth shall be unclean. And if a woman have an issue of her blood many days out of the time of her separation, or if it run beyond the time of her separation, all the days of the issue of her uncleanness shall be as the days of her separation. She shall be unclean. Every bed whereon she lieth all the days of her issue shall be unto her as the bed of her separation, and whatsoever she sitteth upon shall be unclean as the uncleanness of her separation. And whosoever toucheth those things shall be unclean, and shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until the even. But if she be cleansed of her issue, then she shall number to herself 7 days, and after that she shall be clean. And on the 8th day she shall take unto her 2 turtles, or 2 young pigeons, and bring them unto the priest to the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. And the priest shall offer the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for her before the Lord for the issue of her uncleanness. Thus shall ye separate the children of Israel from their uncleanness, that they die not in their uncleanness when they defile my tabernacle that is amongst them. This is the law of him that hath an issue, and of him whose seed goeth from him, and is defiled therewith, and of her that is sick of her flowers, and of him that hath an issue, of the man and of the woman, and of him that lieth with her that is unclean.
A reading from the prophets, 2 Kings. We're going to read 2 Kings chapters 4 all the way through chapter 7.
Chapter 4. Now there cried a certain woman of the wives of the sons of the prophets unto Elisha, saying, Thy servant my husband is dead, and thou knowest that thy servant did fear the Lord, and the creditor is come to take unto him my 2 sons to be bondmen. And Elisha said unto her, What shall I do for thee? Tell me, what hast thou in the house? And she said, Thine handmaid hath not anything in the house save a pot of oil. Then he said, Go, borrow thee vessels abroad of all thy neighbors, even empty vessels. Borrow not a few. And when thou art come in, thou shalt shut the door upon thee and upon thy sons, and shalt pour out into all those vessels, and thou shalt set aside that which is full. So she went from him, and shut the door upon her and upon her sons, who brought the vessels to her, and she poured out. And it came to pass, when the vessels were full, that she said unto her son, Bring me yet a vessel. And he said unto her, There is not a vessel more. And the oil stayed. Then she came and told the man of God. And he said, Go, sell the oil, and pay thy debt, and live thou and thy children of the rest. And it fell on a day that Elisha passed to Shunem, where was a great woman, and she constrained him to eat bread. And so it was, that as oft as he passed by, he turned in thither to eat bread. And she said unto her husband, Behold now, I perceive that this is an holy man of God, which passeth by us continually. Let us make a little chamber, I pray thee, on the wall, and let us set for him there a bed, and a table, and a stool, and a candlestick. And it shall be, when he cometh to us, that he shall turn in thither. And it fell on a day that he came thither, and he turned into the chamber, and lay there. And he said to Gehazi his servant, Call this Shunammite. And when he had called her, she stood before him. And he said unto him, Say now unto her, Behold, thou hast been careful for us with all this care. What is to be done for thee? Wouldest thou be spoken for to the king, or to the captain of the host? And she answered, I dwell among mine own people. And he said, What then is to be done for her? And Gehazi answered, Verily she hath no child, and her husband is old. And he said, Call her. And when he had called her, she stood in the door. And he said, About this season, according to the time of life, thou shalt embrace a son. And she said, Nay, my lord, thou man of God, do not lie unto thine handmaid. And the woman conceived, and bare a son at that season that Elisha had set unto her, according to the time of life. And when the child was grown, it fell on a day that he went out to his father to the reapers. And he said unto his father, My head, my head. And he said to a lad, Carry him to his mother. And when he had taken him and brought him to his mother, he sat on her knees till noon, and then died. And she went up and laid him on the bed of the man of God, and shut the door upon him, and went out. And she called unto her husband, and said, Send me, I pray thee, one of the young men, and one of the asses, that I may run to the man of God, and come again. And he said, Wherefore wilt thou go to him today? It is neither new moon nor Sabbath. And she said, It shall be well. Then she saddled an ass, and said to her servant, Drive and go forward. Slack not thy riding for me, except I bid thee. So she went, and came unto the man of God to Mount Carmel. And it came to pass, when the man of God saw her afar off, that he said to Gehazi his servant, Behold, yonder is that Shunammite. Run now, I pray thee, to meet her, and say unto her, Is it well with thee? Is it well with thy husband? Is it well with the child? And she answered, It is well. And when she came to the man of God to the hill, she caught him by the feet. But Gehazi came near to thrust her away. And the man of God said, Let her alone, for her soul is vexed within her. And the Lord hath hid it from me, and hath not told me. Then she said, Did I desire a son of my Lord? Did I not say, Do not deceive me? And he said to Gehazi, Gird up thy loins, and take my staff in thine hand, and go thy way. If thou meet any man, salute him not, and if any salute thee, answer him not again. And lay my staff upon the face of the child. And the mother of the child said, As the Lord liveth, and as thy soul liveth, I will not leave thee. And he arose, and followed her. And Gehazi passed on before them, and laid the staff upon the face of the child. But there was neither voice nor hearing. Wherefore he went again to meet him, and told him, saying, The child is not awaked. And when Elisha was come into the house, behold, the child was dead, and laid upon his bed. He went in therefore, and shut the door upon them twain, and prayed unto the Lord. And he went up, and lay upon the child, and put his mouth upon his mouth, and his eyes upon his eyes, and his hands upon his hands. And he stretched himself upon the child. And the flesh of the child waxed warm. Then he returned, and walked in the house to and fro, and went up and stretched himself upon him. And the child sneezed 7 times, and the child opened his eyes. And he called Gehazi, and said, Call this Shunammite. So he called her. And when she was come in unto him, he said, Take up thy son. Then she went in, and fell at his feet, and bowed herself to the ground, and took up her son, and went out. And Elisha came again to Gilgal, and there was a dearth in the land, and the sons of the prophets were sitting before him. And he said unto his servant, Set on the great pot, and sieve pottage for the sons of the prophets. And one went out into the field to gather herbs, and found a wild vine, and gathered thereof wild gourds his lapful, and came and shred them into the pot of pottage, for they knew them not. So they poured out for the men to eat. And it came to pass, as they were eating of the pottage, that they cried out and said, O thou man of God, there is death in the pot. And they could not eat thereof. But he said, Then bring meal. And he cast it into the pot, and he said, Pour out for the people that they may eat. and there was no harm in the pot. And there came a man from Baal-Shalisha, and brought the man of God bread of the first fruits, 20 loaves of barley, and full ears of corn in the husk thereof. And he said, Give unto the people that they may eat. And his servitor said, What? Should I set this before 100 men? He said again, Give the people that they may eat. For thus saith the Lord, They shall eat, and shall leave thereof. So he set it before them, and they did eat, and left thereof, according to the word of the Lord. Chapter 5. Now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master, and honorable, because by him the Lord had given deliverance unto Syria. He was also a mighty man in valor. But he was a leper. And the Syrians had gone out by companies, and had brought away captive out of the land of Israel a little maid, and she waited on Naaman's wife. And she said unto her mistress, Would God my Lord were with the prophet that is in Samaria, for he would recover him of his leprosy. And one went in and told his lord, saying, Thus and thus said the maid that is of the land of Israel. And the king of Syria said, Go, and I will send a letter unto the king of Israel. And he departed, and took with him 10 talents of silver, and 6,000 pieces of gold, and 10 changes of raiment. And he brought the letter to the king of Israel, saying, Now when this letter is come unto thee, behold, I have therewith sent Naaman my servant to thee, that thou mayest recover him of his leprosy. And it came to pass, when the king of Israel had read the letter, that he rent his clothes, and said, Am I God, to kill and to make alive, that this man doth send unto me to recover a man of his leprosy? Wherefore consider, I pray you, and see how he seeketh a quarrel against me. And it was so, when Elisha the man of God had heard that the king of Israel had rent his clothes, that he sent to the king, saying, Wherefore hast thou rent thy clothes? Let him come now to me, and he shall know that there is a prophet in Israel. So Naaman came with his horses and with his chariot, and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. And Elisha sent a messenger unto him, saying, Go and wash in Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt be clean. But Naaman was wroth, and went away, and said, Behold, I thought he will surely come out to me, and stand, and call on the name of the Lord his God, and strike his hand over the place, and recover the leper. Are not Abana and Pharpar, rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? May I not wash in them and be clean? So he turned, and went away in a rage. And his servants came near, and spake unto him, and said, My father, if the prophet had bid thee do some great thing, wouldest thou not have done it? How much rather then, when he saith to thee, Wash and be clean? Then went he down, and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God. And his flesh came again, like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. And he returned to the man of God, he and all his company, and came and stood before him, and he said, Behold, now I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel. Now therefore, I pray thee, take a blessing of thy servant. But he said, As the Lord liveth, before whom I stand, I will receive none. And he urged him to take it, but he refused. And Naaman said, Shall there not then, I pray thee, be given to thy servant 2 mules' burden of earth? For thy servant will henceforth offer neither burnt offering nor sacrifice unto other gods, but unto the Lord. In this thing the Lord pardon thy servant, that when my master goeth into the house of Rimmon to worship there, and he leaneth on my hand, and I bow myself in the house of Rimmon, when I bow down myself in the house of Rimmon, the Lord pardon thy servant in this thing. And he said unto him, Go in peace. So he departed from him a little way. But Gehazi, the servant of Elisha the man of God, said, Behold, my master hath spared Naaman this Syrian, in not receiving at his hands that which he brought. But as the Lord liveth, I will run after him, and take somewhat of him. So Gehazi followed after Naaman. And when Naaman saw him running after him, he lighted down from the chariot to meet him, and said, Is all well? And he said, All is well. My master hath sent me, saying, Behold, even now there be come to me from Mount Ephraim 2 young men of the sons of the prophets. Give them, I pray thee, a talent of silver, and 2 changes of garments. And Naaman said, Be content. Take 2 talents. And he urged him, and bound 2 talents of silver in 2 bags, with 2 changes of garments, and laid them upon 2 of his servants. And they bare them before him. And when he came to the tower, he took them from their hand, and bestowed them in the house. And he let the men go, and they departed. But he went in, and stood before his master. And Elisha said unto him, Whence comest thou, Gehazi? And he said, Thy servant went no whither. And he said unto him, Went not mine heart with thee, when the man turned again from his chariot to meet thee? Is it a time to receive money, and to receive garments, and oliveyards, and vineyards, and sheep, and oxen, and menservants, and maidservants? The leprosy therefore of Naaman shall cleave unto thee, and unto thy seed forever. And he went out from his presence, a leper as white as snow. Chapter 6. And the sons of the prophets said unto Elisha, Behold now, the place where we dwell with thee is too strait for us. Let us go, we pray thee, unto Jordan, and take thence every man a beam, and let us make us a place there where we may dwell. And he answered, Go ye. And one said, Be content, I pray thee, and go with thy servants. And he answered, I will go. So he went with them. And when they came to Jordan, they cut down wood. But as one was felling a beam, the axe head fell into the water, and he cried and said, Alas, master, for it was borrowed. And the man of God said, Where fell it? And he showed him the place. And he cut down a stick, and cast it in thither, and the iron did swim. Therefore said he, Take it up to thee. And he put out his hand and took it. Then the king of Syria warred against Israel, and took counsel with his servants, saying, In such and such a place shall be my camp. And the man of God sent unto the king of Israel, saying, Beware that thou pass not such a place, for thither the Syrians are come down. And the king of Israel sent to the place which the man of God told him and warned him of, and saved himself there, not once nor twice. Therefore the heart of the king of Syria was sore troubled for this thing, and he called his servants, and said unto them, Will ye not show me which of us is for the king of Israel? And one of his servants said, None, my lord, O king. But Elisha, the prophet that is in Israel, telleth the king of Israel the words that thou speakest in thy bedchamber. And he said, Go and spy where he is, that I may send and fetch him. And it was told him, saying, Behold, he is in Dothan. Therefore sent he thither horses and chariots and a great host. And they came by night, and compassed the city about. And when the servant of the man of God was risen early and gone forth, behold, an host compassed the city, both with horses and chariots. And his servant said unto him, Alas, my master, how shall we do? And he answered, Fear not, for they that be with us are more than they that be with them. And Elisha prayed and said, Lord, I pray thee, open his eyes, that he may see. And the Lord opened the eyes of the young man, and he saw, and behold, the mountain was full of horses and chariots of fire round about Elisha. And when they came down to him, Elisha prayed unto the Lord, and said, Smite this people, I pray thee, with blindness. And he smote them with blindness, according to the word of Elisha. And Elisha said unto them, This is not the way, neither is this the city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom ye seek. But he led them to Samaria. And it came to pass, when they were come into Samaria, that Elisha said, Lord, open the eyes of these men, that they may see. And the Lord opened their eyes, and they saw, and behold, they were in the midst of Samaria. And the king of Israel said unto Elisha, when he saw them, My father, shall I smite them? Shall I smite them? And he answered, Thou shalt not smite them. Wouldest thou smite those whom thou hast taken captive with thy sword and with thy bow? Set bread and water before them, that they may eat and drink, and go to their master. And he prepared great provision for them. And when they had eaten and drunk, he sent them away, and they went to their master. So the bands of Syria came no more into the land of Israel. And it came to pass after this, that Benhadad king of Syria gathered all his host, and went up and besieged Samaria. And there was a great famine in Samaria, and behold, they besieged it, until an ass's head was sold for 80 pieces of silver, and the 4th part of a cab of dove's dung for 5 pieces of silver. And as the king of Israel was passing by upon the wall, there cried a woman unto him, saying, Help, my lord, O king. And he said, If the Lord do not help thee, whence shall I help thee? Out of the barn floor, or out of the winepress? And the king said unto her, What aileth thee? And she answered, This woman said unto me, Give thy son, that we may eat him today, and we will eat my son tomorrow. So we boiled my son, and did eat him. And I said unto her on the next day, Give thy son, that we may eat him. And she hath hid her son. And it came to pass, when the king heard the words of the woman, that he rent his clothes. And he passed by upon the wall, and the people looked, and behold, he had sackcloth within upon his flesh. Then he said, God do so and more also to me, if the head of Elisha the son of Shaphat shall stand on him this day. But Elisha sat in his house, and the elders sat with him. And the king sent a man from before him. But ere the messenger came to him, he said to the elders, See ye how this son of a murderer hath sent to take away mine head? Look, when the messenger cometh, shut the door, and hold him fast at the door. Is not the sound of his master's feet behind him? And while he yet talked with them, behold, the messenger came down unto him. And he said, Behold, this evil is of the Lord. What should I wait for the Lord any longer? Chapter 7. Then Elisha said, Hear ye the word of the Lord. Thus saith the Lord, Tomorrow, about this time, shall a measure of fine flour be sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel in the gate of Samaria. Then the Lord, on whose hand the king leaned, answered the man of God, and said, Behold, if the Lord would make windows in heaven, might this thing be? And he said, Behold, thou shalt see it with thine eyes, but shalt not eat thereof. And there were 4 leprous men at the entering in of the gate, and they said one to another, Why sit we here until we die? If we say, We will enter into the city, then the famine is in the city, and we shall die there. And if we sit still here, we die also. Now therefore come, and let us fall unto the host of the Syrians. If they save us alive, we shall live, and if they kill us, we shall but die. And they rose up in the twilight to go into the camp of the Syrians. And when they were come to the uttermost part of the camp of Syria, behold, there was no man there. For the Lord had made the host of the Syrians to hear a noise of chariots, and a noise of horses, even the noise of a great host. And they said one to another, Lo, the king of Israel hath hired against us the kings of the Hittites, and the kings of the Egyptians to come upon us. Wherefore they arose and fled in the twilight, and left their tents and their horses and their asses, even the camp as it was, and fled for their life. And when these lepers came to the uttermost part of the camp, they went into one tent, and did eat and drink, and carried thence silver and gold and raiment, and went and hid it, and came again, and entered into another tent, and carried thence also, and went and hid it. Then they said one to another, We do not well. This day is a day of good tidings, and we hold our peace. If we tarry till the morning light, some mischief will come upon us. Now therefore come, that we may go and tell the king's household. So they came and called unto the porter of the city, and they told them, saying, We came to the camp of the Syrians, and behold, there was no man there, neither voice of man, but horses tied and asses tied, and the tents as they were. And he called the porters, and they told it to the king's house within. And the king arose in the night, and said unto his servants, I will now show you what the Syrians have done to us. They know that we be hungry. Therefore are they gone out of the camp to hide themselves in the field, saying, When they come out of the city, we shall catch them alive and get into the city. And one of his servants answered and said, Let some take, I pray thee, 5 of the horses that remain, which are left in the city. Behold, they are as all the multitude of Israel that are left in it. Behold, I say, they are even as all the multitude of the Israelites that are consumed. And let us send and see. They took therefore 2 chariot horses, and the king sent after the host of the Syrians, saying, Go and see. And they went after them unto Jordan. And lo, all the way was full of garments and vessels, which the Syrians had cast away in their haste. And the messengers returned and told the king. And the people went out and spoiled the tents of the Syrians. So a measure of fine flour was sold for a shekel, and 2 measures of barley for a shekel, according to the word of the Lord. And the king appointed the Lord on whose hand he leaned to have the charge of the gate. And the people trode